All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And I am Stan.
And today we are going to be talking about the Final Fantasy VII theme song trailer. So we're going to be talking about all the stuff that's in this trailer. It's just jam-packed with information. And then at the end of this podcast, we're going to be talking about our thoughts with the theme song, just kind of giving some little thoughts on whether or not we liked it and, anything we can take that discussion, see where we can take that discussion. But our primary focus here today is going to be on this trailer, just trailer analysis. So with that said, I think it's fair to say that if you have not played Final Fantasy VII and you're watching this, that trailer has a lot of spoilers in it for the game probably. So just be warned, we're going to be talking about the game. And it's possible we're going to spoil the game for you. And also, I would just throw out there that we are just casual gamers here, or I don't want to say casual, but we're just Final Fantasy fans here, right? We're not like getting paid to do this. So there may be a point where we're going to say some negative things. We're going to say some positive things. We don't want to kill your excitement, but we're going to be completely honest. So just keep in mind that it's okay if you disagree with us. We're not going to get upset. And we expect you to be able to do the same, and we appreciate that. So let's get on to some housekeeping here before we start our conversation. Just want to bring up that we are media partners with RPGFan.com. So if you go to their website, they have RPG news, game reviews, soundtrack reviews. They have 2 podcasts on there as in addition to our own, Random Encounter and Retro Encounter. And their most recent review on their website, I think, is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which it's pretty cool because I'm actually playing that game right now. It looks like they gave it a 7 out of 10, stating it was great for Dragon Ball Z fans, but just an average RPG with some good boss fights. So make sure you check out RPGFan.com because they've been supporting us this past year and we really appreciate it. And we want to reciprocate some of that support there. Also, in regards to our channel, we just got finished with a 3-hour Crisis Core discussion. So I don't think there's another YouTube video on YouTube that goes that much in depth with Crisis Core other than maybe some of the Let's Plays from Lore Runner or something like that. So if you're interested in our thoughts on Crisis Core, go check that out. There's actually a link in the description so you can click on that video and listen to that. We also have an audio version as well. So there's going to be a link for that in the description as well. And we are planning on doing a Final Fantasy VII discussion video similar to the Crisis Core discussion prior to the VII Remake coming out. So you all can look forward to that. And if you don't want to miss it, make sure you're subscribing to our channel and checking out our audio version for our podcast. That way you can make sure that you're not missing anything that we have coming up in the future. Now, moving on to the Final Fantasy VII Remake theme song trailer. We're just going to give some of our overall thoughts on the trailer before we just go hard into this and start breaking it down scene by scene. And but this is just going to be our surface level thoughts. We're probably going to go much more in depth as we get further into this discussion. So keep in mind, we may kind of explain where we're coming from later in this discussion. But who wants to open us up first on your thoughts with this trailer?
Mixed, very mixed.
Okay.
That's just the best way to put it.
Okay.
But for the very elaborative version of it, just stay tuned.
Cool. Stan, what do you got?
Yeah, I would say mostly positive. However, there's certain scenes that were shown in the trailer that I would have preferred to see them for the first time playing the game itself. So like you mentioned at the very top of the podcast, there's things in here. So like if you don't want to be spoiled on them, if you've never played Final Fantasy VII before, then the scenes kind of happen so quickly that you may not really be able to put together the larger context.
Right.
But if you have played the game before and you're looking forward to like being surprised at how they do things in the remake, you may want to avoid this trailer because Child, Cloud, and Tifa are in there. What else? basically all the Shinra employees, the villains are in there.
So there's a lot of reveals in the trailer
Yeah.
that is not necessarily. So if you're looking forward to those reveals and being surprised, this trailer is going to kind of break some of that surprise.
There's a scene of the plate crashing down as well. So if you wanted to like be surprised and see that in the game, yeah, you may want to not look at this trailer, because this is definitely the most stuff that they've shown in this trailer. Like,
right.
And it really feels like, based on what was leaked in early January, that a lot of the content that came out in those leaks, like the leaked screenshots, they put them in this trailer, I think, to try and get on that. Now, not everything. I think there's some stuff that was leaked that's not in this trailer, and then there's also stuff in this trailer that was not, that at least I didn't see like in the leaks. But of it, like there's a lot of it in this trailer.
Yeah. I do think you're accurate with that assessment, because I have a hard time believing that Square would show this much material. You know, usually they're a little bit more reserved, at least with, you know, the initial release. Some of their, you know, remasters, they'll get a little spoilery with their trailers, but they're usually pretty good. But I do think that they thought maybe we want to combat some of that criticism or some of the negativity they're seeing with some of the leaks, because those leaks, like we talked about before, were really out of context. You know, they like, it just wasn't being shown in the best light. And I think they just were like, you know what? We're just going to like 8 Mile M&M it and just put it all out here. Like, okay, this is what we got. This is what this game is. This is kind of like not the full context, because you're not playing the game, but it is the trailer, you know, a trailer where they get to choose and pick how they want things to be presented. I do think that's probably had a major role. I'd like to think. Then again, I have to suspect that there's a lot of people out there that didn't even know there was a leak. So,
right. Well, but by putting out this trailer, you know, there's going to be people talking about it, and there's going to be people making screenshots from it and stuff like that. So now, if you Google like FF7 Scarlet or whatever, I would imagine you're much more likely to find either the trailer itself or images taken from this trailer, since they were higher quality, right? Whereas Scarlet was a character that was as part of the leaked images earlier. And so now those are probably buried, right? Those leaked images are like buried under the new stuff.
Okay.
So it may have been kind of to serve that purpose, you know?
Strategic.
Square Enix is like, we'll outleak you.
Yeah.
And to show everything in the trailer. Look, this is our final boss.
We have all
you
the
already
leaks.
seen it.
We have all the leaks. We can win this game. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you guys. Like I was kind of mixed with it. And then also, I was going more towards like what Stan was thinking with why they released so much stuff. But a happy consequence of it is I'm actually really, really happy with how much stuff they did show for me personally, because one of the agitations I've had with Square over the last year is that, dude, they've been playing their cards so close in regards to explaining like what's in the game, like how's it changed. Now, I know people have said like, hey, Hat, you've complained in the past about, you know, Square announcing games too early. And then sometimes now you complain that Square's not showing enough. And I think the key here is, you know, okay, the game's coming out in less than a year. Now you need to show me stuff. Right?
Yeah. The art of the trailer is to show enough to satisfy an audience, but do not reveal all your cards.
Yeah.
Like, to give credit to the new Star Wars movies, they actually did a really good job each movie not showing too much in the trailer, but showing enough to get you excited and hyped for it.
Yeah.
This trailer, I don't think did that very well.
Well, okay, I know for me, because I'm not very sensitive to spoilers, and I've already played the game, so I know the basic cliff notes, kind of how this is going to go. I have my suspicions where they're changing things, but I'm just happy that they finally came forward and were just like, okay, you want to know how it's going to change? this is you can clearly see from this trailer some of the changes that we are making, because it was so agitating to watch Katase and all these interviews being like, nope, it's basically the same game. We're just, adding like additional fleshing out of like the Wutai War, or, additional scenes with Jesse and Biggs. But no, it's not really changing. 2 Blu-ray discs worth of content though. Like,
Oh yeah, Katase can't interview his way out of a paper bag. I mean, you ask him anything, he will not give you a direct answer. He just will not.
And I'm like, dude, I know that you've changed stuff. I don't need like a play-by-play, like a full outline of the plot for me to like analyze, but just, kind of like talk about a little bit with like where you're going, and like give us general ideas of how this is going to change. So that way I know what to expect when I buy this. And that way I'm not like expecting it to be like a 1-for-1 remake, like some of the initial interviews were saying. And I can expect that it won't be like that. And I'm much more likely to enjoy it than for me to expect it to be like basically shot for shot remade. And, I'm disappointed, right? So I think it helps measure my expectations, but also lets me try to enjoy this a little bit more, because I know ahead of time that they are changing things. So I really like that. I mean, we're gonna get into like the real details, but just off the top highlights, I guess I would say, is Aerith's character, where they're clearly expanding that. So I can't wait to get to that. Red 13, I thought was awesome. Can't wait to get to that. Some of the story changes I didn't like, and we'll talk about it at the end about the theme song. And I'm kind of mixed on that one, but regardless, a lot of the stuff in here I really liked. Some of it I didn't. But that's going to be the case for every trailer. Was there anything else you guys wanted to kind of touch on before we jump into the trailer?
Now let's bash the hell out of this trailer. I mean, give our full and loving support to Square Enix by going over this bit by bit.
Yeah. We are going to review beta footage.
Send us a review copy.
It's going to be great. All right, let me make sure this is popping up. Cool. All right, so I got the trailer here. I'm going to put this on 0.25 speed, and we're going to go in like 15-second increments, and we're going to try to just, really delve into this trailer here. So I've got it currently playing. I have some notes actually that I want to make sure I don't forget things. But we're doing the first 15 seconds here. This is the famous well scene with Cloud as a kid and Tifa as a kid. And, this is kind of the flashback memory when you first go into Seventh Heaven and Tifa's bar, and she's like, hey, remember your promise? And Cloud's saying, oh yeah, the promise of I'm going to become soldier. I'm going to be a hero. And like, I'm going to come save you when you're in your time of need. And so this is kind of a flashback to those events. And, go ahead if you guys got some thoughts here before I just rattle off my thoughts, because I'm kind of interested what you guys think about this.
Well, I'll say it looks great, first of all. Like just Nibelheim, the few shots you see of it here, and like the sky looks amazing. And I think the characters look good too. They look pretty faithful. Like Cloud's even got his little ponytail that he had in the scene in the original.
Yeah,
which is cool.
I thought they were even younger than this. Maybe it's just me misinterpreting.
Well, if you think about it,
but I thought they were like 10 years old or something.
Yeah, they kind of give that impression in the original, and this kind of made me realize that like this particular scene I think is generally better from what we've seen here. This is obviously a condensed version, so I can't say conclusively, but like Eric pointed out in the original, they kind of look like they're like 10 years old, but it doesn't make really much sense because he says, I'm going to Midgar in the spring to join Soldier, or to try to join Soldier. And I don't know what age you join the military in this world, but he seemed a little young to be doing that. In the flashback.
So he's 14.
Okay.
In both, right? In the original.
But he didn't look 14 in the original, right?
Yeah, to convey that he's like younger, they used he looks a lot shorter, right? In the original game. Both characters, they look shorter, and that's to kind of convey that they're younger, I guess, like, or not adults, but really they're both like early teenager. So Tifa is 13 and Cloud is 14 in the original
Yeah.
story, because it happens 7 years prior, and then they're
Wait, so
Cloud is
then
21 and Tifa is 20 when the game actually starts.
so supposedly Cloud joins the Shinra troop, becomes soldier, and ventures with the great Sephiroth within 2 years.
Dude, he's a
Yeah.
motivator. I thought like, okay, because the things, events of Crisis Core was during that whole event took 4 years. So
Yeah,
I-
it's like 2 or 3 years where he would have made soldier first class. So
Yeah.
he would be like 16, 17 by then.
it's not, I don't really knock it for that because look, I was in the Marine Corps, right? And I knew all sorts of people that were just telling people back home, like all sorts of tales about how they're like trying out for special forces and like all this other crap. And it's like, dude, I saw you at the chow hall. You're serving eggs. Get out of here. Right. Like, but people are just trying to impress the girl back home. So I'm cool with it. If, he's a young kid, he joined the military. He didn't quite make it. And he's just, kind of, I look at it as just like it is. He's lying. I don't think it's like a structural problem with the plot.
His voice, the English voice, I thought was kind of like took me by surprise because it's a little deep. Like they tried to make him sound a little bit younger, but it seemed like pretty deep voice for a 14-year-old kid. But I don't know. I don't remember what my voice sounded like back then.
Same voice actor. It's just like me right now going, "Hey guys, how's it going?"
Yeah, kind
This
of.
is me what I sounded like when I was 14 years old.
Eric, we cannot have 14-year-olds on this podcast. Please ask that person to leave.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like, though. It's like it's okay to just get a voice actor just to sound like that actually sounds like a kid and just voice them for like a few moments, and then
I guess for like I don't know how many of these scenes there are, so I shouldn't speak, conclusively. But like, assuming this is the only one of that era, maybe there might be one more. I guess they didn't want to bother getting a separate voice actor for that if they felt like the other voice actor that already plays Cloud could already pass, as a younger Cloud too. I don't know. Maybe they just felt like it would just be easier to have the same person do it because it would clearly be the same person. I don't know. It passes for me. I'm willing to give it a pass.
Yeah, it's not like a huge thing for me. It's just like it took me by surprise, and just that his voice was kind of so similar, even though he's supposed to be still like a adolescent young teenager.
Right.
But it's not. That's a nitpick. That's not like a.
oh yeah, it's a supreme nitpick for me too. I could care less.
One thing that I did notice that I was kind of mixed feelings about, but then I actually did like was clearly like they've changed his outfit, which, initially he had like a green shirt on and some like, I don't know, like some like work pants and like looks like some like work boots. And I thought, well, that's better in keeping with the lore because this is a worker class town, right? That like that would make more sense. But it also stood out in the original that he was all like dressed like crap, and then Tifa was in this like kind of dressed up with like matching shoes and dress. It seemed kind of like out of place. So I like this a little bit better because she's kind of dressed up, and then it looks like like, I don't know. When I was 14, I remember you wanted to impress a girl. I wouldn't put on a suit, but I'd put on like my best pair of jeans, a nice clean shirt, and some like my best shoes or whatever. I mean, got to remember he has he likes Tifa at this point. So I kind of like this a little bit better that they've changed his outfit to kind of mesh with the scene a little bit better.
Some things make sense too, because Cloud has such a huge aspiration to become a soldier. So wearing something like soldier-like boots isn't out of the question. He probably like saw them, really wanted them, bought them, so he can get that feeling of like what it's like to be a soldier and stuff like that. So, a little bit of a fanboy type of deal of soldier. So it makes sense he would wear stuff like that.
Yeah. One other, I totally agree with that, by the way, but like, because I mean, before you join the military, a lot of kids are just, trying to live the life their entire childhood until as much as possible until they eventually join. So it definitely makes sense with these boots here. But one other change that I did notice, and I didn't notice it initially, but I went back and compared it to the original scene, is they've changed the dialogue a little bit. Now, this is kind of a condensed version of the scene, but there is one moment where it looks like it's not cut, like it's the same like sequence. And in the original, the dialogue is Tifa says, "You said you wanted to talk to me about something." Cloud says, "Come this spring. I'm leaving town for Midgar." Tifa says, "All the boys are leaving town." Cloud
Right.
says, "But I'm different from them. I'm not going to find a job." He then stands up and goes to Tifa with his arms out and says, "I want to join Soldier." But in this version, Tifa says, "So, what did you want to talk about?" Cloud says, "When spring comes, I'm leaving town. I'm going to Midgar. I'm going to be a soldier." So they've clearly condensed that a little bit, which initially, again, kind of like the clothes thing, I thought, well, we're losing some world building there because all the boys go to Midgar in the spring, and you just took that out. I don't like that. But then I thought about it, and I was like, well, that was kind of a plot hole because the Nibelheim incident happened. We didn't run into anybody else from Nibelheim in the entire planet and Midgar anywhere. The only ones that seemed to have made it was Tifa and Cloud, and yet all the boys go to Midgar in the spring. So, like, it felt okay to me that they kind of condensed that a little bit and just got the point across, So, I know some people were a little upset about it, but I didn't think it was a big deal.
They may still have that line in there. Who knows? We've only seen, like you said, just a tiny
Small,
portion of it. Yeah.
yeah.
But
If
yeah,
it's
I
not in
didn't think
there,
about that. We'll have to see how it plays out.
all I'm saying is if it's not in there, it doesn't look like it is, but it could be, worked in a different way. I'm cool with it. So, after that, we have, let's go to the 15-second mark here. We have a shot of Genova. So this is one of those things that, at least this part right here may not be a change, but then we have Cloud having one of his infamous headaches that no one seems to address in any serious manner. And suddenly you see Sephiroth before Genova. And initially I thought, okay, like this is more of one of the things they added where Cloud seems to be having a hallucination. He sees Sephiroth instead of just, we have to, in the original game, we had to kind of imagine what he was seeing in his head.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, it looks like Aerith and Tifa also see Sephiroth there.
Yep.
So clearly this is a pretty big change that we're actually seeing Sephiroth in the flesh here before Genova. So
yeah, it seems pretty clear that the other characters can see him also.
Yeah, because
which would imply it's not a hallucination.
Yeah, because at like 24-ish, let me get it. There we go. We got Aerith's face. Her eyes kind of got wide and her mouth opened a little bit. I think there's another similar scene with Tifa. But yeah, so to be fair, this could be after they're unlocked from prison. Maybe Sephiroth just got done with his entire bloodbath of a scene, and maybe they caught up with him at Genova, but something tells me that's very unlikely.
I think Genova has her own special room now. Like, how she's just kind of there, like on the 60-something floor, like while you're walking through. You just like mildly observe the thing to your right, and she's just in there.
Yeah.
And like, I guess I want to see how the new version does it. Maybe they may actually do it better where, Genova is this like big special, alien creature.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't just put her into some random storage and a storage room on that floor. You'd probably have a special room for her to keep her contained everything, especially since her cells are enhancing the Mako soldiers.
Well, I don't think, I think of all the things they could do, I think them like relocating Genova would probably be my like least concern here. More so, I'd be concerned with the fact that like they're running into Sephiroth, and at what point is this happening in the story?
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, spoiler warning: Sephiroth is using his will through Genova.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
However-
So this Genova is still in the glass container.
Yes.
Yet Sephiroth is out here. Like,
Yes.
so what is going on?
I have two theories.
What's that?
So, number one is Hojo has purposely let a piece of Genova out of the storage or whatever of the chamber to kind of start the reunion hypothesis going, to try and do like a test, right?
Okay.
Maybe he even recognizes Cloud already, which seems pretty apparent from a later scene in this trailer.
Right.
And so he's trying to kind of facilitate the whole reunion thing, right?
That's kind of where I was going. But what's your second part?
Yeah. The second one would be that the only piece of Genova that is not in that chamber is the head, and that's because Sephiroth took the head with him when he was defeated at Nibelheim, and he jumped into the life stream. So it could be the head like taking his form, because whenever you fight Genova, it's implied that like you fight a piece of it or whatever, right? But that piece of it can somehow transform into like this big Genova death, Genova birth, all the different versions you fight.
So
that
like might explain how Genova got out in the first place.
Yeah, so this could be the head that went with Sephiroth all the way to the northern crater, but then has taken Sephiroth's form and then actually physically come to Midgar to break the rest of its body out.
That's basically how I interpreted the original, though.
But I think in the original, the head was always still with Sephiroth back in the northern crater, and the body itself, if you look at the like with the chamber where it is, it looks like it broke out from the inside.
Yeah, so on a story level, it could make sense to see Sephiroth right now. I still think on a thematic level, it's still very inappropriate to show him this way first. Like you like that build up towards him in the original FF7 is just like a near perfect way to like show how terrifying a villain can be.
Well,
in this type of game, and I think it's going to ruin that just from the start, just by like just letting him be out in the open like this.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the game does this routinely, and this is one of the best things about Final Fantasy VII is that they use gameplay to show desperation. They use we talked about that in the Crisis Core with the ending, with the desperation of just being able to experience that moment. And they do that all through Final Fantasy VII. We see that with Sephiroth, right? With the serpent before you, after the Chocobo farm, you see him impaled on there, and like you couldn't beat the boss, but then you see Sephiroth impaled a tree with it. The flashbacks with Cloud and Sephiroth's like one-shotting the dragon. It's like you couldn't even like stay alive for one hit. There's all sorts of these scenes, but I really feel like the Midgar sequence was like that was the first time they employed that type of storytelling, because if you think about it, the first couple hours, like they're just building Shinra up, and like it seems like no matter what you do, Shinra wins, right? I mean, you blow up a reactor and then you try to like, regroup and go to your second one, and Shinra's already on it. Your fake IDs don't work, and then like you can't protect Aerith. They grab her. That you can't prevent the plate from dropping. Like you climb the tower, the Shinra tower, and you go through all these obstacles, and you finally get to the top, and like you're like, all right, we're gonna rescue Aerith. No, like Shinra knew you were there. Get out of here. Like,
get
and
captured,
you get locked in prison. Like no matter what, you lose. And then in the middle of the night, you wake up, and like the whole like you just walk out, and there's just a sword in the President Shinra's chest, and you're like, Jesus Christ, this person I've been trying to like deal with for like the whole game now is just dead. And like it's just like this moment where like it's this subversion of, oh, you thought that was the villain? No, this is the villain, right? So, and that's like one of those first times where they really use gameplay where you like to showcase just like the type of story that they're trying to tell here, and to really build that character up. So clearly that was awesome. This, we don't know how they're going to do it. They could do something similar. Maybe they do that earlier, where they kind of had that build up a little bit earlier. But I think the thing that rubs me the wrong way about this sometimes when I think about it is it doesn't feel to me like an artistic decision as much as it makes me feel like it was more of a marketing thing where, okay, it's part one, it's in Midgar. Like Sephiroth's iconic.
Yeah.
We have to have Sephiroth in there.
I think
that seems to me like they just worked him in there because they felt like he needed to be in the first game.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like
Yep.
that's pretty much it. Like it's he had to be in the game at this point because who knows when the next part is coming out, and then are you going to have people buy the first game, not see Sephiroth at all in it, right? Or maybe just brief glimpses of him, and then be like, buy part two, to actually fight the villain of the story. People are going to feel, original fans may understand because they'll say like, well, that's true to the original story. That's how it goes.
Sure.
But then a lot of people who are probably going to buy this game who didn't buy the original, or maybe only watch like a let's play of the original, and this is going to be their first experience of the story, it's going to feel anticlimactic, right? That if you don't even have a showdown with Sephiroth physically in some way.
Yeah, I think
good writers would have found a way to make the Shinra antagonist more interesting, but at this point, Sephiroth is way too marketable.
Yeah,
like there's no good writing in the world that will prevent him coming in here in some way.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Star Wars situation, I think, at least in their mind. So, spoilers if you haven't seen Star Wars, all right? But if you haven't at this point,
you had your chance.
Yeah, like
Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Yes.
What?
So, like, if for a lot of people that is already spoiled, right?
Right.
And if you go into that, the movie treats it as a big deal, right? Because it is a big deal. But if you already know that going into the movie, the moment is done well. But if you ask people, like, what did you think of that reveal, right? A lot of them, if they've been spoiled, are like, it was good, but it's not like, it doesn't have that lasting impact on people if you went into it without knowing.
Yeah, people were legitimately surprised when they first found that out. Like in the movie, like people described people like making like shocked sounds, like, "Oh my god, I didn't even think of that."
You didn't have the internet to spoil it either.
Yeah, so if they treated the story, I think it could work if they did it the original way. But they may be thinking like, "Oh, we have a Darth Vader problem with Sephiroth," right? Where it's like, if we keep him under wraps, people are not going to be surprised like, oh, so Shinra's not the villain. They're going to be like, oh, finally Sephiroth, right?
Yeah.
Because the cat's out of the bag at this point.
Well, it's kind of
like a problem. Maybe you could just show in marketing like some things with Sephiroth or something, and then like just like don't like have it the way it's supposed to be, and then maybe just some eye candy at the very end.
Let me put it
maybe you could just have like see him disappear when like he stabs a sword in the back of the president. Maybe you can skip that Palmer thing to make it more serious. I don't know, but like just having him be out throughout the entire game is just I think that's just a waste of what his potential.
Yeah. Sorry for interjecting there, but in Star Wars, I think it was 7, right? The first one of the new trilogy. They didn't show Luke Skywalker until like the last 60 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
And like that's why a lot of people went to that movie. So I think they could have done it, but I think we're like definitely on point here with saying that like it's way too marketable, and a lot of people know Sephiroth that have never even played the game, and so they just probably felt like, okay, it has to be in there. But it's kind of like a problem of their own making, because the game doesn't have to be only in Midgar.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
We're like, I don't know. It's kind of like beating a dead horse though, because Square Enix is not going to change the format of the first game. It's coming out in April. So I kind of just have to like, okay, it's in Midgar. There's certain realities we just can't get around. Like that's the corporate element of this this game that's like seeping through, that the fact that, that they feel like they need to rewrite that to make it more marketable. And, it's either going to be good in the way they do it or it's not.
Yeah, pretty much like you're saying, if he's revealed so early on, that kind of horror monster presentation that he had in the original game is pretty much lost, right? So that's a bummer, but they could present him as a different villain. Well, I don't know how to phrase this, but like he's not going to have that horror monster feel to him anymore, like you're saying, right? Because the game built up Shinra as the ultimate enemy, and then in a blink of an eye, Shinra was defeated by the true villain essentially, but you didn't even get to see it. So you had in your mind and you don't see him fight the Midgar Zolom either,
Right.
And then with the whole Nibelheim flashback, you just kind of get an idea of how strong he is, right, through the gameplay and through the early part of the story.
Well, I think it shows you like your struggle, and you weren't able to overcome this obstacle at least easily, and then how easily Sephiroth was able to do that.
Exactly. So the game, the story is tied into your experience of actually playing the game, which is brilliant. But now, since they're not really presenting him as that horror monster, they're more presenting him as like a ghost that's kind of haunting Cloud at every turn. The villain is just going to feel different. Like, they could still do something else and do that well, but until they do, it's going to feel like, well, why didn't you just, leave it alone, because it was great the way it was.
Well, not to mention also that if you're going to spend, 40 hours in Midgar now, which is their own choice, they didn't have to, but they're spending a whole game in Midgar. To be honest, with voice acting, it would be a little weird if Cloud and Tifa never talked about the Nibelheim incident. Like, hey, you remember our hometown? How did you feel that it was like burnt down? Oh yeah, remember that Sephiroth guy? He was kind of crazy, huh? Like,
well, this definitely looks like it's at the end of the game, this part.
Well, the end of Midgar, sure.
Cloud's hallucinations, he more than likely will keep them to himself, because you know how he is, that cool guy attitude, don't want people in my problems type of deal. So he may keep a lot of that to himself. And this definitely looks like the first reveal of Sephiroth to the group. Sure. So this can be the start of like a whole series of events of like getting out of the Shinra building. And then I wouldn't be surprised if the second game just straight out starts with like going through the Nibelheim incident.
Yeah.
Through Cloud's perspective, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do for sure. And I think this is the biggest thing I'm most curious about at this point, is how they're handling Sephiroth's character, and, how they're handling that entire thing. Because we've seen other scenes with other trailers where Aerith sees the Watchmen of Fate, those black ghosts. And it looked like Cloud couldn't see those until she touched Cloud, right? So if that's the case, maybe because they're going to try to build on this relationship between Cloud and Aerith, maybe this is going to be something they can kind of bond over, is the fact that, hey, you see stuff, I see stuff, like it's related, so
maybe, yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all want to move on to the next part of the trailer, or do we want to kind of chill here some more?
We're only 30 seconds in the three
we can keep
50-second video.
This is why we didn't have any other topics.
Yeah, this Sephiroth part gets revisited again later anyway, so if we have
stay tuned for part 2.
It'll please be excited.
Yeah. All right, so let's get on here with the show here. Let's go up to the 30-second mark. Okay, this is where we start to see I think Reeves, right? This is where that part pops up.
Yeah.
Reeve Toesti.
Yeah, well, I had to look up that last name because I didn't know that was his last name.
AKA totally not Kate Sith.
Yeah. This dude, okay, so we see Reeves here. He's arguing with the president to I think not drop the plate. And it's a very moving sequence, I think, from what the little that they show us. But man, actually kind of like it, but like I got to be honest here, they're literally like I think changing Reeves' character a little bit because in the original he didn't like play his cards that outright. I guess with something this dramatic he might, but usually he would kind of like try to use Shinra's own logic against him. Like, hey, you know, this won't benefit you if you do this. Like, the people will hate you, that type of thing. Because he didn't want to be exposed, right? He saw like what Shinra would do to people that like, you know, confronted him like that. And
Hmm.
also, Reeves was not that good of a person. Like, he was not necessarily bad, but I mean, he was controlling Kate Sith, who abducted Marlene, and then he was constantly feeding the Turks information about them, you know, throughout their entire journey. So he's always been kind of this gray character where he didn't like Shinra, but he also felt like Avalanche was a terrorist group and
Yeah.
they were not good either. So uh, I wonder, like, it's hard for me to say about this scene because they're making a 40 hours or however long out of a 5 hour sequence. So I mean, maybe he has a character arc in the game where he's the Reeves that we know from the beginning of the game. And I guess by the end of the game, he's kind of gotten more confrontational with his objections. But that makes me wonder what's going to be in the second game if they're, they're progressing all these characters to their like end game stage, you know. But sorry, what did you guys think?
Well, I'm looking at the 15 seconds. It looks like Heidegger in particular is showing more of his humorous side now. I was
Mm.
kind of worried that he was going to be like a more overly serious type general, and they, you know, something to be taken seriously. But I'm kind of seeing right here where he's like, he's being a little childish, talking to Reeve. Like, you know how like Reeve's like the only person in the room that like knows better or has any like has a conscience,
It calls him a
and it,
coward. Yeah.
yeah, and then like the other two characters that just like don't care,
He's
and
like,
then just taunt him on top of it.
yeah.
Hmm.
How did you guys feel about Reeves' portrayal, though? Do you think this is the Reeves you remember, or do you think it's kind of a good change, or do you think it's basically the same?
Reminds me of a lot of how he was in Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah, but
Like,
that was like after all these events, though. Like, you know, like the
Yeah.
entirety of Final Fantasy VII, you know, that game as well. So
Hmm. I mean, he does. I mean, eventually come onto the group like Avalanche's side, right? Even though he's initially there with Kate Sith as a spy, right?
so
He then does.
can you see
I think
his
he plays both sides.
can you see
Yeah.
Reeves like that's what I'm saying. He's usually pretty gray. Like he's not necessarily the best person, but he's trying to do the best he can, I guess. But can you see this Reeves also abducting a child and handing information to Avalanche, like once he's controlling Kate Sith? Unless they
Well,
change that, which I would be in favor of.
yes. Like I think they should just change that. That's what I was about to say. I was like, that's a plot point that should just be cut
Annihilated.
entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if you
because
think about it too, maybe he actually believes that Shinra might be better off with the Black Materia than the group of people that Sephiroth can easily take down. It's like at least like with Shinra, the Black Materia could be like put in this big safe or, you know, like guarded by tons of soldiers or something like that. Maybe Reed thinks to himself like, yeah, if we get a hold of it, you know, Shinra will at least have a more of a fighting chance, and maybe he plays both sides when it's more appropriate to his goals.
I think you're onto something because if you think about it, like this would make sense, right? Because he's probably at this point headed up to here with President Shinra. Like it's like, dude, you're dropping a plate on innocent people. I think
hmm
that if President Shinra had not died, I think Reeves would have caved much earlier. But I think that Reeves believes in the Shinra state. Like there's more control with the government, like not deconstructing
yeah,
entirely. Than
yeah,
it.
he's more of a. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah,
Go ahead.
I get what you're saying. He's more of like a I can change Shinra for the better, like from within, right?
Yeah,
Like I can rise the ranks and change the culture of the company and make them like value human lives, their customers, you know, and like actually create a better Midgar, right? Like by politics, essentially.
Here's another theory
Um,
too. we know President Shinra dies at the end of the Midgar segment.
Well, that's what I'm
And
saying.
then his son Rufus takes over. And maybe Rufus says something to Reeve to make him more like on his side. He's like, I'm not like my father. Like, this is like, I won't resort to dropping a whole plate on people just to get a small group of people. And then, like, this is what I want to do. I want to protect the people. Even though Rufus has said that he wants to control people with fear, it's like he doesn't have a desire to kill said people. And maybe Reeve gets behind that and be like, okay, I'm cool with you. I'm not cool with your dad, but I'm cool with you. It's like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And it's like, I want you to retrieve this for me.
I think that, like I was saying earlier, and I think, Eric, you're right, that if President Shinra had not died, I think Reeves just had it up to here with this. It seems like from this scene. But then, like you said, once President Shinra dies, I think that because he believes in fixing the company from the inside, really the government, that he thinks like, okay, maybe his son will be better. I would be better to stay in my place, pull my line, do the bare minimum to keep my position here, but try to change things. Maybe his son might be a little bit better. His father was getting old. Maybe he was just stuck in his ways. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Maybe his son can be persuaded.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this makes sense.
Yeah. Reeve does, in the original kind of during the board meeting scene, like plead with the president to rebuild. Like he starts giving him the estimates, I think like 10 billion gil to rebuild Sector 7 already, like after the plate has dropped. And then the president basically tells him, like, we're not rebuilding. There's no plans for that. And then Reeve is kind of like shocked, like, what?
Like, you can't be serious.
Yeah, you can't be serious. So I think maybe they're just going to move that shocked moment to when he actually makes the decision to drop the plate, rather than like, oh, you're not going to rebuild, and that would be a little bit more realistic, I guess, since like the whole story is trying to go a little bit more
maybe to play on that,
believable, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe to play on that is Shinra saying, okay, we're going to drop the plate on all these people. And just like I was saying at the beginning with the old Reeves, where he wouldn't directly confront the president, he would try to use like his own like selfish desires to like try to get what's most righteous, right? So he would say, well, Mr. President, we could do that, but it's going to cost 10 billion gil to rebuild.
So don't do it, right?
Yeah, don't do it, like, because we can't afford that. And President Shinra is just going to be like, yeah, we're not going to rebuild. And then we see this scene where Reeves is like, okay, gloves are off. Like, you're acting crazy right now.
Don't do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they may just kind of move his objection to when he actually decides to drop the plate rather than the rebuilding.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, which would kind of serve the same purpose in the story, pretty much.
Yeah, I think now that we've come up with also the fact that he can, kind of tame his objection once he sees the president died, I think that kind of gives me some cause to see where his character might go in the next game, because he's going to have to, we're going to have that whole angle of, can I fix his son? Can I persuade his son? Can I persuade him to do the right thing? And eventually he's going to have to come to the conclusion that no, he's kind of crazy too.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. So I like that. After that, we got at the 44-second mark, we start to see some materia formations here. And this is going to be, the same scene that we see Scarlet, who's the director of weapons development. So she's witnessing what looks like materia being created. It looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know the internet's been going crazy with this reveal of Scarlet, and she's got her legs on this, soldiers, like she doesn't even care. Just be my ottoman. What did you guys?
I think that's where it gets a little too cartoonish for me. Like, I understand she's supposed to be like a cold-hearted woman and everything, and like she values like herself over everyone else,
right?
And like to like a villainous level, but like I think even just like the feat her resting her feet on just on top of a sentry is just it's a little too cartoonish to show how cold-hearted villain she is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do agree. Like, it's a little bit over the top because, people have to be willing to follow Shinra. And if there's like people being used as ottomans, like in the
Yeah.
building, you would think like people would get around like, dude, it sucks working here. I was a freaking ottoman today for like 8 hours. Like, but it is kind of a funny way to express, her character. And Final Fantasy VII did have a lot of like crazy humor that was kind of off the wall, but kind of in this realistic context, it does seem a little weird. I can understand that.
Yeah, like the aesthetic of it, right? If you saw this scene in the original and it was like, the little blocky Lego characters,
Yeah, it'd
and
be
it
funny.
was Scarlet doing her like, like whatever cackling laughter, as she put her feet up on the soldier, it would work better. Right? You wouldn't think twice. It's just like Eric said, it's so cartoonishly evil, like kind of twirly mustache type of behavior.
Yeah.
But the aesthetic is like hyper realistic, or like going for kind of realism. That
like someone can hand her like a thing of tea and she just knocks it out of his hands and be like, she's like, not now, I'm trying to watch this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm enjoying myself right now, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then like
yeah. Well, I totally get where you guys are coming from, and I entirely agree. But one thing I did like about Final Fantasy VII was the diversity of diversity of people, right? Not meaning like diversity like their race, but like the personalities, right? There was just such a wide variety of like villains, and they're all evil in their own right, but they had such unique personalities that it was very engrossing to like whenever they came on the screen. So but I do agree, like maybe they could have shown it in a different way that was a little more toned back. But this is, dude. I mean,
it's actually, if you think about it, it's actually very faithful to the character from the original.
Yeah.
But then they have kind of made little tweaks to all the characters, to put them in more of a realistic context. Yeah. But they've retained the cartoonishly evil nature of, it looks like, Scarlet and Palmer.
Cruella de Vil type.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, it can work. Like, she's not a terribly important character in the original game anyway.
Can you see her? Can you see this Scarlet getting in a slap fight with Tifa?
Yes. Well,
yeah, so that is true. Scarlet isn't a strong presence in the game until like near the end of Disc 2.
Yeah, and she's not a terribly important character, like, to the plot. It's not like she makes any huge decisions that, like, she's pretty much there to just like confront you and like stick some robot on you here and there.
Right.
Palmer's in the game more than she is, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he is the next reveal of Palmer, and guys, this portrayal of Palmer was fantastic. Like, I was just like, dude, you guys nailed Palmer. And like, this is so perfect. Like, just this fat guy that like is jovial, but just like bragging about how sophisticated he is. But like, he ran out of butter while he's holding his little teacup. I was just like, this is perfect.
Yeah. Holding it with like the two fingers hanging off the cup handle. Yeah.
Dude. And he's like,
I think he's done really well too.
Yeah.
It's not an over the top cartoonish portrayal, but it's a funny stereotype of a wealthy or privileged person.
Yeah.
And he expresses that in his tone without what I think is like going too over the top.
Yeah. Dude, I'm really going to enjoy this character. I can already tell. This is awesome.
But do you think he'll still get caught in the plane fan and die that way? Or
well, can only hope, I guess. Sure.
Dude, I'm all in.
That had to be an Indiana Jones reference on top of that too.
If they stick to it, like, I'm gonna give them an A for just being ballsy. That's awesome. Yeah, but I'm a big fan of this. I'd like to see more of him. So very, very cool. The next scene, we have 104 to 120. This is probably one of the biggest scenes in this entire trailer. we have the Honeybee Inn, which is where we're finally going to see Cloud in a dress. And I actually have a lot of thoughts on this, but I mean, you see him walking into the Honeybee Inn. They've kind of expanded on it with this, like, these girls dancing, and you have this kind of slightly feminine man walking up, and he's just like talking about how great it is to be beautiful, and like it doesn't matter your gender and all this stuff. And I do think the way that they're presenting this is probably the safest and most, like, the best way they can preserve this aspect of the game and not be terribly offensive in 2020, to try to be like, oh no, it's not sexual, or we're not making fun of people. It's empowering. And, whatever, if that's what they got to do with it, then I'm cool with it. And if it makes people feel better about themselves, I don't care either. But I think that is probably the best way they could do this, and not offend, half the planet with their insensitivity.
Just to give an observation, this is different than the original. By Cloud just simply went into a dress shop, got change, and came out. And who Don Corneo picked was based on how many items you got in the wall market before you went there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to bring that back. Like, will they have a little bit of an RPG aspect here, where like he'll pick one of the three, depending on like how much stuff you did in the wall market.
I was wondering the same thing, because at 106 you see him walk in to the Honeybee Inn, and he's got his soldier outfit on, and then you can see him still in his soldier outfit, and they push him down into a chair, and they're covering him up and putting makeup on, and then they raise their feathers from him, and he's wearing a dress, and it's almost like, he just walked in there and then that was it. So I wonder if maybe it's kind of, there's a slight cut here, so maybe he goes in here and like this is where the dressmaker is, and he does the whole sequence of events, but I don't see a tiara around his neck. So I don't know how much of the mini side quests you have to do to get the best dress. Did they remake this cutscene like 4 different times with different dresses? I mean, this could be a major change. They could just, hey,
I'm just kind of wondering why they're using the Honeybee Inn as a means to change him into this attire.
This could be the final thing, though. Like, maybe you still do all that stuff, but then it's like, okay, once you're ready, go to the Honeybee Inn and change, and they'll put makeup on your face. And then like he goes there with all of his items, and then he changes. I mean, I don't know.
I think that changes pretty much just for the dramatic reveal. They want it to be like a bigger deal than walking.
I think this is okay. It's it's like you said, it's just adding up more flair to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think there was anything dramatic about when he did it before. It was humorous, but it was just simply just talking to different people in the wall market until you got what you needed, and then you change.
Yeah.
Like, this I think just adds a little more drama comedy to it. And people know the Honeybee Inn for being like notorious for being a very adult oriented place to be. It's the
do you
I guess as much as you can call a place like this on the teen rated game.
Do you think they're going to have the hot tub scene?
Maybe.
Where it's kind of implied that Cloud's raped?
It'll be very, very tame. It'll probably be a part like where Cloud is just like in the hot tub, and then like a whole bunch of guys get in and they just start like being very close to him, and he just starts getting uncomfortable. But you have to be careful with a scene like that too, because you'll get, you know how people on the internet are today. They're quick to jump to conclusions.
Judge, yeah.
Or something like that. So they may do something to like put men and women in it, and just like Cloud just feels uncomfortable being in there, or something, and gets out, or
I don't. They're gonna have to definitely change it. I think you're right. That's for sure, because, and you can kind of see they kind of hint to that, like the tone of this is different, because the main person here talking says that the true beauty is an expression of the heart, a thing without shame, where notions of gender don't apply. So it's kind of like, hey, like just be who you are. If it makes you happy, like that's all that matters, that type of thing, right? Which is very, inspirational, I guess, and very encouraging to people. So it would be kind of a lost point if in the scene prior to that, it was like, seemed like it was making fun of gay people or something, even if they're not. I know a lot of people would interpret it that way. So,
No, I guarantee you there will be like a headline that would say like Cloud is a homophobe or something like that. It's I can see it coming a mile away if they do like that.
Yeah, they make light of sexual assault or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we did see in a previous trailer the squats mini game is still in the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you can just do that for some other kind of reward, it would, at least it seems like, because that's normally how you get the wig item that you need. So those little optional quests might still be in the game to get all the pieces you need to get Cloud all dolled up.
Let's think about some of these things, right? So like we saw the deal in the gym to get the wig where you have to do the squats like Stan's mentioned here. And then I know the other thing here is you have to go speak to the I don't want to fortune teller, and he wants you to stay at the inn and buy whatever is in the vending machine, and you buy it, and it ends up being, I think, implied to be like a porno magazine, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's all excited, like, "Oh, all right, yeah, that's awesome," right? So, I'm starting to think that like I don't think that's going to be in there. I think that they're probably going to change that because I don't know.
I think it's just going to be a lot more tame in general.
Yeah, I agree. I think like they'll just have to do something else, or maybe he will have to stay at the inn for a night, but it'll be just a different item. After that, we kind of see a general unveiling of the wall market with Cloud walking down the road in the dress, and Aerith saying "you're so pretty," which I love that dialogue because it's just kind of, I like that about 15 where it kind of increased your immersion with the characters talking. So I'm glad that they're going to have that in this game as well. But you can kind of see that this wall market is maintaining its very Japanese niche with like Japanese words and lanterns, and like the whole architecture is remaining that style, which I kind of dig because when I was a kid, it made me feel like I was in a different place, It's kind of a small touch, but I'm glad they didn't try to like Americanize it or Westernize it, and make it just like a stereotypical Western grungy city. This is, they maintained the way it looks.
Just an observation. This is kind of a fault of the original game too, but like Cloud, they didn't do a very good job of making Cloud look like a woman. Like, all right, so first off, even if Cloud can pass as a woman here, he is wearing a dress that looks like it's from the 18th century when Tifa and
he's a very conservative gal.
Yeah, I mean, ooh, look at those ankles. But yeah, anyways, like Tifa and Eris look like they blend in with the place. It's like a I don't even know where to compare it to, like a Las Vegas like place.
Right.
Yes.
They look dressed for the occasion. They look like they're going out clubbing or whatnot. And Cloud looks like he's ready to serve drinks at a saloon.
Well, yeah. And so it doesn't match what they're wearing. So that's a good observation. Maybe there's other dresses, but also, I kind of took that if this is being interpreted in a different way, that, Don Corneo, he does not, he likes both genders. Like he likes men and women, especially if they're exotic, like a man in a dress. So I kind of took it that way. Like, oh, okay. Like you're a man that likes to wear women's clothing. I think they're kind of trying to emphasize that, like, hey, let's make it humorous because he's still masculine looking in a dress, but also that Don Corneo does not care.
Can also point out, like, if you click to like 1 minute 24 seconds, just look how big and expansive the wall market looks now compared to the original. Like, I actually think it looks really good. Like seeing Don Corneo's mansion from a distance,
Yeah,
It
like
does, yeah.
wall marketplaces around it. I mean, it's really nice looking. I'll definitely give credit for that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
I really like the way it looks. You have all these tourists, you have different shops and like different like little, little food carts and stuff on the side of the road and, little chairs, but also you see like, weeds and stuff growing out from the ground. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I like it.
nice contrast, right?
Yeah.
Like you have places like Honeybee Inn and then the mansion in the background, which are like these, big wealthy buildings. But then everybody else is kind of just set up shop where there was room,
Yeah.
on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is Don Corneo exactly what you guys thought he'd be?
He's great.
Yeah, big sleazeball. Yeah.
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 I love the shirt that white shirt that he wears. If you look at 126, 127, like you look at the buttons, they look like they're about to pop off.
Yeah.
Like he clearly bought this shirt when he was a less rich man, and then it's his favorite shirt. He keeps wearing it, but it doesn't fit.
It kind of got that 70s look to it.
Yeah, it does. It does. He kind
Mhm.
of looks like Hugh Hefner, I guess. Well, not him personally, but like he's got like the almost bathrobe type deal going on, which
Yeah.
is kind of humorous. Um, yeah, I mean, if you at 126 in left hand corner, you can see one of the guys with the mohawk. So that's one of the guys that if you do not get picked, you have to kind of fend off.
Yeah, one of his goons.
Right. So they kept that guy in there. So that's accurate portrayal. But yeah, we see this scene here where if we all remember, this is, they have all three people lined up, Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa, and Don Corneo has to make his pick. They've changed the tone of this scene a little bit because Don Corneo in this version says something like, I can't remember, but something like, hey, who's going to be the lucky wife today? And like Aerith or Tifa says today, and then Cloud says disgusting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the original game, it was more humorous because, you got Don Corneo doing his speech and then he walks over to Cloud and he's like looking at Cloud and Cloud keeps turning his head like every
Has
time.
to look away.
Yeah, because he's embarrassed. Whereas in this version, like Cloud's more like you're disgusting, you're filthy, like you're a filthy pig type. He's just more straightforward about the whole thing. So that's different, but it's still basically the same, the same Cliff Notes version, anyways. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I expected. So,
Yeah. Next
minute
scene,
35.
yeah, we see the reveal of Joe Dirt,
Joe Dirt.
otherwise known as Roche.
That's our loving name for him.
Yeah.
Soldier Joe Dirt.
Soldier Joe Dirt, third class.
He's exactly who I thought. Like you know what kind of character he is now because of this. Like he's going to be that like reoccurring joke villain type character, like one you don't take too seriously.
Mm.
And he's just going to come out of nowhere and just like interrupt you for a while. You fight him, he goes away, kind of like a Gilgamesh type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he almost runs
Ultros.
over his friends, his the soldier, the Shinra guards. He's like recklessly driving his motorcycle around, almost hits some of them.
Well, if you remember in a prior episode, we read some of the descriptions for the characters that Square Enix themselves provided. And for Roche, they said that he was, I think, a soldier first class, but they also said that his companions or his comrades find him annoying because he feels the need to do donuts with his motorcycle and put the fumes in their face, which we thought that was a horrible portrayal of a character because it seems like a train wreck. But I got to be honest.
What he did.
Yeah, he did do that exactly in this trailer. he did donuts and then like right in his like soldier buddy's faces, like he's just like blowing fumes in their face. But my expectations for this character were really, really, really just god awful low, about as low as you could get it. Like I was just like, once I saw this character, I thought for sure, like this was like one of the first cracks of this game, like one of the moments, like I just knew. But with this scene, it's not quite as bad as I had thought. And I think it comes down to the voice acting I actually kind of like for the character. And then also, he's still dumb, but some of the dialogue he says, like he says, I see you're still stirring up the hornet's nest. I just want one last dance. Like, I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but like at least it's not uh like cliche evil guy laugh like a
Right.
Dragon Ball Z character or something like like at least they tried to do a little bit here. So it seems a little bit better than initially what I thought. I still
Yeah.
don't think I'm gonna like them, but it's a little bit better.
Yeah. I think I know exactly in the
Sorry, I was on
story.
mute.
Oh,
I was saying that he's just gonna be a filler character and just to give more gameplay. I think that's all he's going to be.
Yeah, I don't expect him to have like a
much
major
importance. Yeah.
role, like a second coming of Sephiroth or something.
Yeah. If you pause the video right when he is revealed, like right at 135 where the motorcycle is dropping down,
Okay.
it's pretty quick. You might have to you kind of have to get it in that very first couple frames, like when we goes from Don Corneo to the motorcycle. But you can see in the left side of the screen
Okay.
is the Shinra building. Can you see that?
I see a building on the left hand side. You think it's a Shinra building?
It is. You can tell by the shape, and it's got the Shinra logo also, like in the very left, and those kind of two big towers, those looks like big light towers, like kind of in front of it.
Okay, I'm trying to.
So it's farther away. It's really huge, but it's further in the distance.
Okay.
This will help us with a scene later on in the trailer to kind of piece like where this is happening, essentially. Yeah, there's a scene later with Cloud in combat where you can see this exact same kind of arena that he's fighting in. This area, not arena, but like this
space,
wherever they happen to be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that doesn't come till like a minute later in the trailer, though.
All right, well, let's keep going. Next, we have one of my favorite parts of this trailer. We have the Red 13 reveal. And I don't know about you guys, but this character, like the voice acting for this character, is so much better than I thought. And then I just love his dialogue here. He says, I am what you see before you and nothing more. Like, I don't know. Red 13's always been a guy of short words. Like he just gets right to the point, but he has like a certain wisdom about him that's like kind of mysterious. And I think like this voice actor and like mixed with the dialogue just works perfect with this character. Like I can just tell, like, it's just, he's a very concise guy that's just going to espouse like wisdom to the party. And like, it just works. But what did you guys think?
He looks good. He sounds good. No complaints from me. It looks like they translated him very well into the game. Like this is what I thought Red 13 / Nanaki would sound like. He would sound like old and wise, which will make it more funny and more ironic when you get to Cosmo Canyon and you find out he's actually very young for his age.
Yeah.
So it'll make that more interesting. I'm glad they understood that and translated him this way. So thumbs up for me.
Here's the real question. Can you see this character model on his hind legs wearing a sailor's outfit? Like we did after Juden.
I don't know if they'll even put that in there.
I doubt it, but
yeah,
I just laugh when I see some of these character models like, oh, yep, that scene's probably not going to make it.
I mean, it would be hilarious. My guess is they'll be all dressed up in soldier or, Shinra uniforms themselves, still disguised, and they'll have him on a leash, and like kind of act like he's one of those Shinra attack dogs.
I wonder, yeah, that might be what they do. I wonder if they're going to like at least give it a shot, like in this story sequence, like, I don't know, Red, try putting this on. And then he like puts it on and he like, they look at him and they're like, this isn't going to work. You know?
Well,
to reference how it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
police dogs get those like canine vests or whatnot.
Yeah.
They'll probably do something like that with the dog sentries in this game, and they'll probably do something to make Red 13 look like that, and they'll probably put a vest over him and just say, "Oh, he's a special case," and just walk around with them. I think there might be at most a small humorous moment where like Red 13 is in from a perspective where someone may think that he's a guard, and he quickly puts on clothes real quick to be like to disguise himself right at that particular moment, and maybe like a guard walks by and doesn't question it and
Right.
he immediately takes it off and like starts sneaking to where he needs to go.
Yeah.
So they may try to add it in like that.
Little Easter egg. I can see that. I love how his tail is like burning. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I never noticed that in the game or the movie, but his like in this character model, you can see it's like almost on fire. It looks like it's glowing or on fire, but it's dude. This is
it's on fire, I think. Yeah.
yeah. This is really cool. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I can't wait till part 2 or maybe part 3, but probably part 2, where we actually get to visit, you know, his home and do that complete character arc. Because man, he has an awesome character arc. When you actually get to Cosmo Canyon, so I'm looking forward to that. Next scene we have is, I really don't like this next scene, guys. I got to be honest, but
Cloud jumps up and tries to hit Sephiroth.
yes, he makes this like god awful like screaming face, and then he runs at Sephiroth, and Sephiroth pulls out his sword and cuts a bridge in half with one strike.
And the other characters kind of follow after him, not quite as fast as he's running, but that would seem to imply for sure that they can see Sephiroth there.
But then, yeah, exactly. But then like the bridge is falling, Sephiroth and Cloud are having their little moment, and Cloud's pushed off the sword. But I don't know. Are they going to show like what happened to everyone else? Did they fall off the bridge too?
You can see very briefly, right at 2 minutes. Like Cloud leaps, and you have to pause it really quick. You can see them slipping, kind of off the bridge that just got cut in half.
Okay.
They're like in the shadows.
Oh yeah, you can kind of see him over here in the left-hand corner.
Yeah,
okay,
so,
because that's going to make sense.
Yeah, you can also see like Red 13's outline there, right? So, and I think you can also see him as he runs towards Sephiroth at some point.
Interesting.
But it looks like Red 13 is already there with them. So that would put this scene somewhere after, like either they rescue Aerith and find Red 13, and then like they keep running and they immediately encounter Sephiroth.
Well, this is the same room because you see Sephiroth in front of Genova. So I wonder if the earlier scene we saw, they just didn't show a scene with Red 13 in it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the same scene.
Oh, okay. This is the part 2 of that discussion. Okay.
When it happens.
Yeah.
It either happens like immediately after they save Aerith and Red 13 joins the party, which you fight a boss right there anyway, which I don't know what they're going to do with that, or it's after they've been captured and they follow the trail of blood and they follow it to here, essentially. I don't know how it can be either way. They can either encounter Sephiroth here, and then he pushes them down, and then they all get captured, like from falling down there. They get surrounded or something.
Right.
Or they're already captured. They break out, and then they find Sephiroth here at the Genova.
So here's what I think. I think that it's the first one that you were saying, and that's what I was hoping it was. But the reason I say I think it's after the Trail of Blood is because we have Aerith in the party, which implies that they busted her out, right? Or they rescued her. And then I would assume that it would make the most sense, just like you said, that they were locked up. They got released in the middle of the night. They followed the blood trail to, Genova's chamber. And that's where Sephiroth was, and that's where everyone sees it. I mean, I don't think it would be earlier in the Shinra building because with Aerith in the party, because that's the whole reason they went there was to rescue her. And if Red 13's there also, I just,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So
I guess it could be in those few moments before they're captured, but I think it makes a lot more sense with the first option that you were saying.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see how they do it. It's also possible that this is the first time they will encounter the Genova pod, right?
Mhm.
Like wherever this room is, because in the original you kind of have to pass by it on your way to save Aerith, and Cloud looks into the window and he has like a headache, a scene, right? And you get to see the Genova body with no head, and then Barrett looks in and he's like, "What the hell is that? It's missing a head. This is stupid," And then they just move on.
Right.
Like they just keep going. Based on the room, it's probably going to be a bigger deal where they won't encounter Genova and Sephiroth until after they've been captured. They're probably going to change the sequence of events a little bit.
I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So, and one thing of note here to say is when Cloud and Sephiroth meet swords, Sephiroth says something like it's a happy reunion. So,
Yeah.
which is telling, I think, for the next scene, because then we have Hojo watching this entire event on his like monitors in a like recliner, which is kind of weird. But he stands up real fast and he's like very pleased with what he sees. Like he predicted this. He sees Cloud on the ground. Like he's like, good, continue not to disappoint me. I think, which goes back to your earlier point, Stan, which is that it's implied here that he realizes Cloud was one of the people in the Nibelheim experiment that escaped,
Mhm.
right? So that's usually a later reveal. So again, I'm wondering what they're going to have to put in the second part of this game, because they're really putting a lot of this stuff in the first half. Makes me wonder how much they're going to add or change in the second part. But I think it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, people don't really have the context to really understand what he's talking about, but I guess maybe they'll revisit those comments later, I guess, once we do.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll keep it vague and people will be just like,
Oh,
what is it talking about,
it's a
How did-
Nomura game, so I'm sure it'll be very vague.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, I don't care for his voice actor, Hojo's. He doesn't sound.
Oh no.
He doesn't sound like more like a deteriorating scientist, which
Yeah.
Hojo always came off to me.
Well, not only that too, like the original like Hojo was one of the most ugliest people I'd ever seen in my entire life. Like, Jesus, this guy is clearly evil, right? You look at
Yeah.
this, like, I'm not saying this guy's a prize, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't think this guy was evil if he was walking past me. So they kind of cleaned him up a little bit, but I don't know. I'm okay with it.
I like the glasses,
Everyone's got to look pretty to some extent. It's anime.
That's true. That's very true. I was just expecting the giant head for a small frame with him like nodding his head really fast, like
Oh.
like just like. But now he kind of looks like Bono or something, like he could be like a U2 concert or something. Which whatever, man. It's Hojo. It's not much you can do. Next scene we have. What do we have? A boss appears on the wreckage, right?
Yeah.
It looks like one of those normal little helicopter monster or like things that you take out in normal combat.
Yeah. But I think
it's actually one of the bosses that you would normally fight on the elevator when
Barrett, yeah.
Aerith and Red 13 are in the party and they're escaping down the elevator.
Right.
This is the second of two bosses you fight there. So it looks like they've moved it to earlier in the story. Or maybe you're going to fight it twice. I don't know.
Looks like they addressed the melee fighters who can't hit it because they gave Cloud some kind of. What's that? Cloud's holding his hand. Is that a gun?
Is he holding a gun?
Yeah, there's a scene right in what time? The timestamp for it. I think it's
Oh yeah, he pulls out a gun at 225. It looks like anyway, some kind of device.
I think it's a grappling hook that is probably being used to help him, get up the wreckage, make their
Oh
way,
yeah.
rather than just climbing up very conveniently placed like wires and stuff.
They're
They have grappling hooks, and it looks like right at 224. You can see that Tifa also has one, like on her back.
oh okay. Very convenient. Very cool. I'm looking at 222, 223. You can see some really cool shots of the wreckage and just kind of see how much they're adding into this. I think that's really cool because in the original, you see the wreckage and then you don't really see the wreckage again. So this is kind of cool that it's going to be in the background during a series of fights that kind of add to the effect of what Shinra did. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We have Cloud using a different weapon here that we haven't seen until this trailer. So if you want to pull up the first screenshot I sent you.
Sure. Give me 1 second.
Is that the rune saber?
It looks like it's the mithril saber.
Mithril saber, okay.
Which is normally a weapon you can't buy until you get to Calm outside of Midgar. So now it's appearing a lot earlier in the story.
Now, remember also in the sewer fight in previous gameplay trailers that they had Cloud with a hard edge.
Yeah.
Already.
Mm-hmm. When normally you can't get that until the Shinra building.
I think the logic of when you obtain weapons is from 7 is thrown out the window. I think they just completely changed that.
Yeah, because otherwise you're stuck with like you can steal a sword. I know I think it's called hard edge or something like that from soldiers in the Shinra building, but like if they left it the same, you'd be stuck with like 2 swords the whole game. Which
isn't the nail bat DLC or something?
No, I don't think so.
Give it time.
They're giving you a chocobo summon for DLC.
Oh,
I think
that's how Cloud found it the first time, right?
He had to pay extra.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's pretty cool. Next we have boss fight with Leviathan. Really, really cool reveal. I really like the design and just it's like super epic with just how big it looks and like I really like how it's capturing the fact that it's this summoned god basically. Very very cool. But the only thing I wonder is we've already seen Shiva, we've seen Ifrith, now we see Leviathan, and initially these summons were kind of spread out around the world, and it was kind of a reward for exploring the world. And I guess a lot of these are just going to be found. Apparently, a lot of them are going to be found solely in Midgar. So I wonder which summons they're going to leave for the other games, or if we're just going to be able to find them all in Midgar. It's kind of
there's a lot to pick from, and there's already a lot in the original game itself.
Yeah, there is a lot.
Like you could probably get 5 to 6 summons in this game and still have plenty for a second and third.
I think I was reading they were going to have a lot more than that. But probably some new ones too that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and there's been new summons that have been made since 7. You can easily put them in there. FF14 has created, I think, like 4 or so new primals.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I look at like Shiva was obtained in Junon, for example, so that's kind of fitting, I guess, given it's I don't know, water, I guess. I don't know, Shiva's ice, so I guess that's not complete sense, but I know Sephiroth kind of dropped the summon for Ifrith, if I remember correctly, on the cargo ship. So, they're making some changes here, but I'm pretty excited that I don't have to wait till like the second game to use all the summons, because that'd be pretty anticlimactic, right? If I had to wait until part 2 to actually use a summon, that would kind of suck.
It would, yeah.
It kind of looks like there's 2 different summons in the game. There's one that's like a more traditional summon, like Leviathan and Chocobo. And then there's ones that join you in the battlefield, like Ifrit and Shiva. Like I haven't seen Leviathan or uh, Chocobo assist beyond becoming that major summon
Well,
spell.
if you pause it at 237, you'll see a triangle command that says whirling uppercut. Is that Cloud? Is that Tifa's move,
That's
or is that?
That's Tifa's move. Yeah.
So if we go to command menu, I wonder if there's going to be commands like support commands that we can give to Leviathan, and maybe that's some of the animations.
Maybe. I know later on in the trailer you do see Choco Mog on the field, like actually fighting with Cloud very briefly.
Okay.
So I would assume they're all trying to be like that, but we don't see enough of Leviathan here to know for sure if he can actually, if it's like actually on the field.
Or what it is.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, next scene we have Cloud climbing some stairs, which is clearly the Shinra building.
That's
I know,
part of the game, climbing
yeah.
the stairs.
I know I saw this from a Final Fantasy Union. I was just casually watching their things you may have missed, and they pointed out I didn't even notice. If you pause it while he's climbing up at 241, you'll see Cloud's on the 26th floor, Barrett's on the 24th, and Tifa's on the 29th.
Yeah.
So they're all going at different speeds. Nice attention to detail there, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
From there, because I don't have anything else other than the fact that they're climbing upstairs. I think it's pretty cool that we see the duct, him climbing in a air duct, which was a big part of the original with him, with the mini games, but also right before you see the story sequence in the conference room where he's kind of seeing what, Shinra and Hygar and everyone is talking about. So
yeah,
kind of cool they left that in there.
And it's cool. They looks like they give you the choice again to storm in through the front or sneak your way through the back.
Take the stairs. Yeah.
The one thing I don't like, though, I know this is a nitpick, but I don't like that they put the numbers of the floors there, just because the comedy of the scene was the stairs felt endless. You never knew when you were going to finally get to the top, and it brought in some humor between Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud.
So you don't like that it's labeled on the wall 26, or that it says next to the name 26, or both?
Yes, both.
Okay.
I think it kills the comedy a little bit because you know when it's going to end.
Oh, because they know it's like 60 floors or whatever, but like they don't know which floor they're on just because they've been running for so long.
Well, they may know or not know, but the audience likely knows.
Right.
And you want to make it feel like it's an endless spiral of hell stairs.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, it's kind of a nitpick, so
It's a pure nitpick. It doesn't matter.
it's not going to ruin the game. Yeah. So at 242 though, I do like that he's in a bathroom, right? You see some urinals in the background. Tifa and Barrett are just sitting there looking at him like, what are you doing? And he's climbing up into this air duct just like in the game, right?
So, yeah, that's the part where he sneaks up on the Shinra meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think all three of them will be able to fit in there this time unless the vent's really that big.
Well, especially with Barrett, like this huge frame. Yeah. Next we see some Cloud and we see Choco Mug, right? The summon you guys were talking about.
Yeah, so, you can see him on the battlefield at 244. Okay. And you can see that he has a like a bar, like.
So I wonder if it's a time thing.
Yeah, just like if we saw in the previous trailers.
Yeah, I wonder if there's either if it's just a time thing, like kind of like similar to Final Fantasy 12, where they would just battle, or if there's like tiered summons, right? So like this is kind of a lower tier summon. They'll fight with you in combat, whereas Leviathan, it's like a top tier summon. So that'll just be, hey, you're summoning a giant snake. It's gonna basically wipe the enemy out. I don't know. I mean, it seems like to hear once Chocomog's timer ran out, he did the typical animation that we've seen from the original. So maybe Leviathan does fight with you. I don't know.
Also, right at 247, like a close up of Cloud as I think the Chocomog summon is starting to do his big attack.
Right.
And you can see he's using the Mithril Saber here as well.
Oh yeah, the sword you were pointing out to earlier. Yeah.
Yes, and you can see the UI, his health. He's got only 1400 max health, which
Okay.
means like very early in the game actually. So as we've seen from the previous footage, like I think in the first mission he has like 1200 or something.
Well, I think that
1400.
And I don't know if this is exactly what you meant, but I know the original demo, apparently, like, that's not exactly going to be accurate amounts of HP. Like, they just kind of made that so people could play the demo, right? That it's actually going to be a bit different. So, because I think people were trying to like read into it, like, well, he has 1200 HP in the first mission, so like, is this further along in the game? Like, where is this in the story, right? But they came out and were like, well, this is just a demo. We kind of spruced it up a little bit so people could have fun.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but it's interesting. It's like, how early are we going to be able to change weapons? Right?
Yeah.
Because he's already got the Mithril Saber, which is supposed to be like and he's using that same weapon during the going up the plate towards the Shinra building, right? But he's also using it much earlier
than
in
you
the
would
story.
expect.
Yeah. So my guess is you're going to have access to different weapon types like pretty early on, and that would make sense since we know there's like a weapon upgrading system in place.
Right.
If you just had the Buster Sword for like the big early chunk of the game, well, you've probably upgraded it by then, and then if you got a new weapon, it might be worse, right? And then you might not want to use it because you've spent so much time upgrading your Buster Sword.
Right.
So they give you like 2 or 3 weapons like to choose from like pretty early on.
Well, here's a thought too. It's a very good point. Here's a thought in relation to that. If we go back to 155 real quick, where Cloud jumps at Sephiroth, he's got the Buster Sword, which I assume this is obviously a story sequence that's, pretty difficult to do, right? So for story sequences, I guess they're just going to have to put the Buster Sword in there. And then if you're in combat...
Why would they? If everything is rendered in the gameplay, or like rendered with the gameplay models, then you can just keep that weapon. You just have to make sure that each weapon you make just
but
resonates with the sword.
I think with that particular sequence, though, I mean, Sephiroth just cut a bridge in half. I mean, it seemed rather like I feel like that's probably, even if it's in game, I don't know if they're gonna have it to where it's just like any sword that you have. I don't know. Maybe, but
they could. It would be more difficult to do it because the swords are different width, right? So if clash with Sephiroth's sword, then yeah, you would think they'd have to
well, the thing
animate
is,
it depending on which weapon you have, and that would be extra work.
The thing is, the Buster Sword is your first sword, and it's the worst sword in the game. So if you have access to this sword that you're talking about, Stan, later or earlier in the game than we originally thought, are they just using the Buster Sword here just for trailer purposes to like kind of like make people feel like, oh, that's the Buster Sword, that's iconic, like I know that sword? Or, are they just, okay, all cutscenes are going to have the Buster Sword?
My guess is that the Buster Sword will no longer be just straight worse than the others. I think they're going to try and make the weapon, because you're going to have multiple weapons and be able to upgrade them. They're going to make them all useful in their own way. So like one of them will be the strongest, like in terms of raw attack power. One of them will have the most materia slots.
So a 15 approach?
Have like more defense power, maybe. Stuff like that. They're going to try and make them all useful in their own way, so that there's a reason to like put away the Buster Sword for now and take this one, but then maybe for later in the game I want the Buster Sword again, and so on.
So maybe a more Final Fantasy 15 approach where you can use multiple swords depending on the situation. Certain swords will clearly be better.
Do you guys remember Kingdom Hearts 3?
Yes.
Where you could upgrade the Keyblades?
Yeah.
to be into a and like the Kingdom Key could be like on par with other weapons, even though it still ultimately was the weakest one. It had its own unique factors that could make it interesting. Um, didn't they say that what your triangle ability is linked to whatever weapon you have?
I think either the triangle ability or your commands, like braver and things like that.
Yeah, like the Punisher mode thing. Isn't that like bound specifically to the Buster Sword?
I don't think Punisher mode is. I think like it was like thrust or one of his thrust attack that could stagger the enemies faster was the Buster Sword ability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we can see he has Punisher mode at 248, where he's wielding the mithril saber. He still has Punisher mode on his UI.
Okay, right there in the left-hand corner. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there are abilities that are like, yeah, because they said there's abilities that each weapon you can use with them. But then if you use the weapon enough, you master it, and then you can use that ability with any weapon, like FF9's ability system, how it's tied to the equipment.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so you're saying basically that depending on the move that he does, he'll just automatically swap the sword out?
No. I think
Because
you're
it's
gonna have one weapon, right? And the Buster Sword has like a thrust attack that does more stagger meter damage to the enemy.
but you have to equip that. You have to choose and commit to that sword.
Yes, but once you you get like a progress bar every time you use the Buster Sword, or maybe
Okay.
every time you use the ability.
Right.
And once it's mastered, then you can take that ability and use it with the Mithril Saber, for example.
So similar to the original, but slightly different in that you have to wait till it's mastered to remove the ability.
Yeah. So if nothing
Okay.
else, you're going to want to use every weapon in order to master all of those abilities that come with the weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes more sense because given the fact that you can see materia on the weapons, if they let you just equip like 5 swords or something like that, right? That would be a ton of materia that you could equip. Which
Yeah, I think you have to pick one weapon at a time.
yeah, that makes sense. All right, so from there we had at 248, 250, we see Chocomog, the summon, and we got some more gameplay stuff here. And after that, it looks like again some more gameplay, but you see some Tifa going to town on a infantryman here. Lots of different cuts and with the gameplay and a lot of familiar enemies. Is there anything you guys want to point out here with some of this gameplay stuff here that we haven't addressed already? I know Barrett has his, I can't remember what that arm is, scissor arm or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. First,
Okay.
at if we go in order,
Sure.
at 252,
Okay.
it goes by really quick, but Cloud is on his own still fighting two sweeper enemies, the two robots.
Right. So no party members.
Yeah, if you pause right on that
252.
252, yeah, that little shot where he's fighting them, you can see the Shinra building right behind him again, which is what I was alluding to earlier when we were looking at Roche on his motorcycle. This is the same location.
Oh yeah, because I can see the lights in the background. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You see the Shinra logo like on the back left side of the building.
So maybe this is right before or after that happens.
I
Although
think this right before you probably have to fight these two guys as kind of like a mini boss fight.
Mhm.
And it looks like he summons the Chocomog to help him out with that.
Right.
And after that, like Roche is probably gonna show up.
If you notice though, and I've seen a couple different people point this out, that at this particular portion of the trailer, Cloud is the only name here, right? So the people are pointing out, well, maybe you have to split up, like blah blah blah, because where's everyone else in the party? Why is their name not there? So
Barrett's by himself too. A few seconds in.
yeah, so I wonder if after he defeats these enemies, before Roche shows up, because in the cutscene we see the rest of his party's back together.
Mhm.
If, this is kind of where they meet up and, oh, okay, like, what have you been doing? I've been looking for you, that type of thing. And then once they regroup, Roche shows up. Makes sense.
My prediction is that this is chapter 2 of the game
Okay.
after the Mako reactor.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, Cloud is on a mission with Jesse Jesse Biggs and Wedge, right? The rest of Avalanche minus Barrett, and they are going back to the plate for some reason. They are actually up above, as you can see, relative to like where the Shinra building is in this shot at 252, 253. They're higher, like they have an unobstructed view of the Shinra building, right?
Right.
So they have to be actually up on the plate. And based on the kind of position of the building, they're looking at the what is that, like the right side of the building. This is like sector 7 or sector 8 somewhere, but up on top of the plate. And that would make sense in context for later, where in a previous trailer we saw them on parachutes, kind of like parachuting down.
Oh yeah.
So my guess is Roche is like the boss of chapter 2, right? Whatever this little side mission is.
Sure.
You're going to you're going to escape him. You're either going to defeat him or escape him, and they're going to parachute down from the plate back into sector 7.
I wondered, but by the time he shows up here, he says this is our second dance. So they've already approached him once, right? In one of the earlier trailers, they're fleeing from somewhere on like a motorcycle and a vehicle, and they're like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Soldier Third Class, right?"
Yeah, I think they're going to fight him on the motorcycle first, and then Cloud's going to have to fight him one-on-one after, and that's why he says, "I want a second dance, just you and me," because the first time they fought would be in the context with the motorcycles.
So do you think these robots that he's currently fighting at 252, these like mech enemies, I wonder if these are just like support units for that fight. So you'll have to fight Roche and these units?
No, I think it's going to be like a motorcycle chase.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the second time. Like, where we're seeing in this trailer. Yeah.
I think maybe he arrives here first, fights off these 2 robots.
Well, I thought maybe because
after
it only shows Cloud's name, it doesn't show anybody else in the party, that when he says just you, no one else, that's why I thought maybe these units are part of that fight.
Oh, I think he means just you, no one else, because the first time they battle, it will be him, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, both riding on 2 motorcycles.
Right.
I mean,
I guess, but like the fact that this scene only has Cloud's name here, that's what I'm getting at. That maybe the other party members are standing back in the background. So
I think they are, but I don't think Tifa or Barrett are there. I think it's just him and the other 3 members of Avalanche.
Well, we'll see. I mean, could be anything. I think you're onto something though, for sure though. What else do we got from there, Stan?
Later on, Eric already mentioned that Barrett is by himself in one of these quick action.
Yep, at 3 minutes.
Yeah, and like you said, he has that that other weapon, which is the second screenshot that we have.
Okay, let me.
Atomic scissors weapon.
Now, this looks like this might be a part where, you know how Barrett's separated from them for a while they're at the wall market?
Yeah, that's what
this might be what Barrett's doing while they're off doing that. Like he's off probably with Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse somewhere.
Look how much HP he has, almost 3,000.
Yeah, but he has in the other fight scene we saw where he was where they were fighting the heligunner, like on their way up to the plate.
Okay, yeah,
like 3,600 to 4,000 health.
So he does have. Well, okay.
So this this has got to be earlier than the plate coming down, which would line up with what Eric and I are thinking, that it's got to be like a Barrett kind of quest going on parallel to the wall market thing.
Okay. I'm trying to look at this. So at 229, we see Barrett with 3,855 HP, right?
Yes.
And let's go back a little bit. Okay, let's go see if that changes at all. Because I feel like I saw this change a little bit. Okay, so that's context right there. When we saw Cloud running up the Shinra Tower, Barrett had 3,949. So relatively similar at 240. And then once we go to 3 minutes, which is where Barrett's there, he has 2,990. So, yeah, that would make sense. This is, maybe
It's
10,
earlier.
15 levels earlier.
Yeah. Also, the enemy he's attacking here,
Still at 3
other
minutes?
yeah, at 3 minutes. Though he uses a melee attack on him because the weapon he has is a short range weapon. Those enemies are called Vargid Police, and they only appear in the original game after Genova escapes in the Shinra building. So
Hmm.
countering them here, and I can't tell really by the environment, but it looks like some kind of cave with like some kind of infrastructure, like some staircases and stuff around.
I was going to say, like, after Wall Market, but Barrett's not there when they fall down into the sewer,
Yeah.
which would make sense with the background, but not with Barrett being there.
So I don't know where this is, but it definitely looks like we're gonna get like some kind of Barrett maybe
One-on-one.
any chapter or something going parallel with Cloud and Tifa's and Aerith's wall market section.
Which will be cool. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
So the next scene after that, did you have any more gameplay stuff from that part that you wanted to point out? Because I know you had a...
Well, you took a peek back at the Heligunner fight where we
Okay.
were looking at Barrett's HP.
Yeah, let me go back to that. I think it was like 2 something, right? Let's see.
Right
221, right? 222, something like that.
uh,
224.
I think like 228 or
Okay.
so.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go there. Yep. Right there.
So in the very first shot, he's got 4,600 HP, which is a shot of the Heligunner. And then in the very next shot, it's a shot of Tifa kind of running from the bullet spray. He's at 3,855.
So they're kind of jumping around there.
Yeah, his max HP, sorry.
Yeah. So, okay. I just saw it. That's what I was looking for earlier, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, in the same context, it's at 4,605. And then later it's at 3,000.
3,050.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was curious about this, and I watched the Japanese trailer.
Mm-hmm.
They use different gameplay because they have to capture it in the right language.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's a little bit different. And in that one, he has 3,855 the whole way through, like in every single shot. But in this one, he has either 4,600 or 3,800, depending on which scene you're looking at, which cut.
So I wonder if the dramatic increase in HP is because, they're just trying to record like really cool looking sequences. They don't want to have to worry about characters dying. So they're just like, oh, whatever, just give them 4,600 HP.
Yeah, but Cloud and Tifa's HP don't never change in any of them.
That is interesting. So you think maybe he equipped some like HP increased materia or?
Yeah, the HP plus. I wonder if he has that.
Or he cast in Final Fantasy 12. There's a spell you can put on you. It was like bubble or something or other, where it would increase your HP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe he has some kind of ability that can temporarily increase his max health. That could be it too. Because if it's HP plus, that would be cool. That's normally a materia you can't get in Midgar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because it's inconsistent in the English version, but in the Japanese version, it's all the same. And it's only Barrett's health that goes between the two values. Tifa and Cloud's never changes.
That's kind of interesting. Well, he does kind of play at least his character model looks kind of like a tank like character. So although it's a little different, it's a little weird that he fires at long range if he's going to play that role, but it would make sense that he has higher HP. So, but it's different. It is weird too, like you pointed out, that it changes. So I think I'm leaning towards, just HP plus is probably the easiest explanation.
Yeah, because it could be that he's at a higher level, but then why would both Tifa and Cloud's HP be the same?
Well, I think while Cloud was off cross-dressing, Barrett was over here like kicking butt and leveling up,
Getting his friends killed.
Yeah.
Lifting weights, yeah.
Yeah, lifting a weight, not weights, but
Yeah.
But yeah, very cool. Very cool observation. At 3 minutes here, or 3:01, we start to see some stuff with Aerith. And she's basically, I think this is at the point where she's like, hey, like this isn't the real threat, guys, or is that later in the trailer? No, this is it.
Later in the trailer. This is the part where Sephiroth disappears and how Sephiroth jumps out of the way and like the Genova boss comes in. Like I think this is their way of showing that in this modern form. He disappears and Genova boss comes in.
That's right. Yeah. So we're seeing a lot more of Genova, obviously. So this is kind of interesting, but it looks like a pretty cool boss fight. You see Tifa zapping around 1,000,000 miles an hour, but some really cool stuff here.
Which Genova is this? It looks similar to the second one. It also looks similar to the third one.
Yeah.
I think they've taken some liberties.
I'm not sure. You can see though at when they transition to gameplay, Cloud is kind of like fighting a tentacle. He's like slashing at it.
Right.
And there's a little text above the damage that says weakness on it, which could mean
what's okay right there at 3:08, 3:07.
Yeah, which could mean that either the tentacle is like specifically weak to slashing weapons, or he has like
sense materia
plus added effect plus fire in his weapon, and maybe it's weak to fire.
I thought maybe he has sense materia on right now, and because of that, like you're not going to sit there and cast it. So this blue kind of thing on here means it's like sensitive to ice, maybe. Although I guess does it maintain that color aspect ratio no matter what?
This is Genova Birth, by the way.
Genova Birth.
Genova Birth and Life have Life is after this. Both have very similar forms. So
when do you normally fight Genova Birth?
In the ship, while you're going from Junin to Costa del Sol.
So I wonder if they've just moved that whole sequence to like inside the Shinra building rather than in the boat.
Yeah, because this doesn't look like a boat.
Yeah. If you compare the model of like the main, if you type in Genova Birth in Google, like the model of in here looks very similar to it. Like this is definitely a more grotesque looking version of it, but
let me see
if you look at they look highly similar.
Oh yeah, okay. Let me see if I can get this on screen here. I want to make sure Google Images isn't giving anything crazy before I pop this on the screen.
The only Genova that looks really different is the one from the final dungeon, Genova Synthesis.
Yeah. And I always thought that that's because that was the head. The final piece in the northern crater.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We'll have to see how this all plays in. It seems like obviously they've moved a lot of the later stuff back to earlier parts in the game. So pretty cool though. I mean, it looks like a cool boss fight anyways.
Yeah. Oh, also really quick.
Sure.
It's very hard to see, but in the part where Aerith is kind of dodging some attacks coming towards her, she's like skipping to the right.
Okay. What time here?
Like 3:09.
Okay. Let me see if I can get there. Okay. Yeah. So she's kind of skipping right to the right.
Yeah, you might want to pause right at 3:09, and you can see Cloud and Tifa in the back, kind of to her right,
Okay.
and behind her.
And Red 13.
You can also see Red 13 there, but there's no Red 13 UI.
Oh,
he may not be a party member.
Yeah, so he's in the battle, it looks like, but he's not.
Maybe he's just a guest. Yeah.
Like a guest character at this point.
If you think about it, is there a point to making Red 13 a permanent party member if he shows up this late in the game?
Yes.
I think he's being safe for next time. It makes sense too. Why would you create this whole entire thing for a character that, unless they plan on letting you convert data from the first game to the second game, and then even then you don't get real, you got nothing to work with Red 13. Do you make like a thing of weapons for him, or do you just give him one special weapon? That can be a confusing ordeal making such a late game character. I think it makes sense to make him a permanent party member in the second game.
Yeah,
you're probably right, but I would be entirely okay with.
That would be disappointing if he's not in the game. But at the same time, it's like, he only joins the party, whatever, in the last couple hours of this.
But I mean, if they're dramatically expanding upon this, that could be 10 hours. Or 12 hours of playtime with that character. So I think there could be a case to be had that like it would be valuable to have that, especially if, like Eric said, they let us transfer data from one game to the other. That would make sense. But it looks like, at least
here's
in this
the
context,
thing. Also,
go ahead.
I think at this point they'd be willing to show gameplay of Red 13 this late. How close the game's coming out. I think they would have showed Red 13's gameplay.
Well, I think maybe that with the way they would do it, and they do this a lot with like other games where somebody's just a guest member until later they finally do join the party, right? So I think in that case, that might be what they're doing here, where, okay, like he's just a guest player until like we escape this whole area. And then after that, he decides to join the team. And at that point, you can control him. That's possible too.
Also, I'm wondering where this is. Like, where is this room that they're fighting Jenova in? Because on that same shot where Aerith is, you can kind of see in the background there's like kind of Jenova material like hanging off from the walls.
Yeah, it looks very cave-like. It's very hard to place.
I'm actually going to guess this is going to be a new area.
Well, I think that's pretty.
remember what he said, what Nomura said. The end of the game is not at the end of the highway when they escape Midgar.
Yeah, well, I think that's a pretty safe bet. I mean, this is probably like a final dungeon or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they're going to have their highway chase scene, and then they're going to see the ghosts around like a sector or something. And then Eris is going to be like, we have to go there. And then they're going to that's going to be the actual final dungeon. And this is going to be one of the bosses.
Cloud has 3,600 HP, so I don't know what he had at the 228 mark. Let me go back to that.
He had a little bit less, I think.
A little bit less, like a lot less. Let's see here. He has 3594, so like 100 less.
Yeah.
Granted, who knows? This development footage, they could just be, somebody could just be leaning on the keyboard, like, all right, that's their HP. Go record some footage.
Yeah. I wonder if this is maybe like underneath the Shinra building or something. And like Jenova breaks out and this is where she goes.
That's quite the basement Shinra has.
Yeah.
It's just like the Final Fantasy VIII basement. Yeah, that's entirely possible. I'm still leaning towards, like Eric was saying, that this is probably a final area or at least a new dungeon. So,
like, there's nothing familiar about this room at all.
Yeah, this does not look like the Wall Market. This doesn't look like any of the
It look
areas.
like anywhere in the Shinra building.
Yeah, none of the
Yeah.
floors. So I don't know. And Red 13's in the party, so it seems it's probably final area. If it is a final dungeon, then apparently Red 13 is not going to be an actual party member, just a guest party member.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate, but not going to ruin the game. Keep this ball rolling here. We got at 3:12. We see an explosion from one of the reactors. It looks like it's from far away, so that's kind of cool.
That's probably Sector 1.
Why do you say Sector 1 and not Sector 2?
Just a hunch.
Is the first that they destroy, right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. They escaped through Sector 8.
And there shows a sign for Sector 7 there.
Yeah.
I guess that's reasonable. I was just curious why you were so certain. But that makes sense. That makes sense.
Because that's the bombing mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know that they blew 2 up, right? So
they blow up 1 and was it 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Reactor 5. Okay. After that, we see some of Barrett, like kind of doing like one of his limit breaks. It looks like.
Yeah.
So he's shooting that off, and
he's shooting the enemy is the 100 gunner, which is the other boss that you normally fight during the elevator sequence.
Oh.
Yeah.
Looks like that's still happening. It does look like they're in an elevator of some sort.
Yeah, and he's got Aerith and Red 13 with him on side by side.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Of course, we get we're just going through thing by thing. The highway scene. Now there's a helicopter shooting at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
And they got the same dinky looking truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Barrett's big ass in the back of it.
There's another detail right at 3:16 where Tifa is kind of reaching for Cloud and he's falling.
Yeah.
This is most likely where he falls down to the church.
I think that's pretty safe. Yes.
If you go really slow, as he falls, he sheaths his sword, right? And then he reaches for something on his back, right? In the very last few frames, you can see him reaching.
So you think it's some materia or something like that, or?
I think it might be the grappling hook.
Or the grappling hook, yeah, that would make more sense, yeah.
And then maybe they're going to try and do it a little more realistic, where rather than him falling all the way down,
like
he's actually going to hook onto something, but then maybe and like kind of stop his momentum, but then the hook is going to snap or something, which will allow him to keep falling, but not.
Maybe
I have a feeling
swings into the church, maybe from the roof, like just
There's probably going to be several things that are going to break his fall.
Yeah,
and of course this is Final Fantasy. So, have you ever seen someone die from falling? Like Snow
Hope's mom
fell off a bridge. Oh, damn, you got me.
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe if you're a main character, you would survive the fall.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah, but they're probably going for more of a realistic thing. Like he's falling, but in midair, he's gonna shoot the grappling hook, which is going to catch something to kind of stop him halfway down. But then maybe the explosion is gonna break his hook loose from whatever it latched onto, and then he's gonna fall the rest of the distance. So to make it a little more believable that he wouldn't just die.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's a very good find there. I mean, I think that they're obviously probably trying to kind of polish out the roughness of that scene where it would look a little odd, like you mentioned, in realistic fashion. So that makes sense to me. From there, we have the helicopter shooting, and then we have this whole tunnel sequence with Barrett and Cloud like running through a tunnel, which looks like there's some kind of camera or something following them. I don't know.
I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, it's too fast for me to tell. But it looks like they're trying to escape from one of the reactors.
Yeah, and then there's something that I'm doing it at like 0.25 speed here, but it looks like something just shoots out behind them. So
it goes too quickly to Eris.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's probably a safe bet again. Like you said, like it's after one of the reactors. They're just trying to escape there. So that makes sense. After that, we got some Earth time, and she's fighting one of the, I can't remember what these creatures are called, but you run into them in Shinra Tower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Just a normal enemy.
Yeah, but pretty cool that they brought that back. Which is, you know, good homage to the original. And then after that, we got the iconic, but I can't believe they left this in here just like it did in the game, with Barrett holding on to this rope while the whole plate's crashing. But we have Tifa and Cloud hanging on, and it
Onto
looks
him, yeah.
ridiculous in the remake because like okay, Cloud's holding on to Tifa, who's holding on to Barrett, and I'm just like, dude, this is like
I think Cloud also has an arm around Barrett's arm.
but still, like, I don't know, it just seems like it wouldn't work. Like, I would be, if I was him, like I would be grabbing onto the thing too with like my legs on his shoulders or something. I don't know. Like, just, I like that they paid, you know, try to be authentic to the original.
Yeah.
It looks like Cloud's trying to hold Tifa while Cloud's holding on to Barrett. When it would make 100% more sense for her to hold on to Barrett, or get on Barrett's back and then like Cloud hold on to his stomach.
So at 327, we see kind of the backside, the other side, with you know, Barrett holding on to the wire or whatever, the cable, and you see kind of Cloud on his back, and it looks like he's got his elbow bent inward. So it looks like maybe he's grabbing his shirt on the left hand side, which is a kind of a weird place to grab it, right? I would have grabbed it around the other side, but I don't know. Again, we just earlier we saw Scarlet using a soldier as an ottoman, so it's not entirely out of left field for this game.
And then we got President Shinra here looking down upon Sector 7 getting destroyed.
Very
just like the CG scene.
Yeah, that was a great scene with like the opera music in the background, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He does look like a much older Rufus now. He doesn't have the weight anymore. He doesn't have the belly. He looks like what Rufus would look like 30 years later.
He stopped hanging out with Palmer, man. Mm-hmm. Palmer would just, with his refined taste and all that butter.
Yeah. I do say that it does make him look a little more intimidating like this. Like, he doesn't look like a stereotypical capitalist.
Yeah.
Businessman. He now he looks like he runs a city.
Right. Yeah.
Like a true figure, like a power figure.
He kind of looks like kind of like a character from that movie There Will Be Blood. Right, with about the oil tycoon and like all the evil stuff he ends up doing and the love of oil. I don't know. It just, his character design reminds me of that character. I wonder if there was some inspiration there. But
yeah, so, with the zipline scene,
right?
I sent you our last screenshot we have.
Okay,
is a shot of that scene where they're hanging on to Barrett, and you can see clearly that he doesn't have the sunglasses anymore at this point.
But he has the sunglasses in Shinra building.
He does, yeah, later on.
So he just takes it on and off when he feels like it. See, he doesn't wear the sunglasses outside where he should use them, but he wears them inside.
Well, technically we're under a plate, right? But I guess there is explosions, so that would make more sense to wear sunglasses, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. He doesn't have them here, but then he puts them back on later.
No, it's kind of odd with this scene too. If you look at his dog tags, like given the angle that he's at, like they should be like hanging down more, but they're still like somehow like in the center of his chest almost. Like it's kind of weird. Like I would expect it to be almost hanging off the right-hand side, off the edge of his shirt.
Right.
With him, with the momentum that's going. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of interesting. I guess maybe he either lost his sunglasses though, or he just decided to take them off before getting on this because he didn't want to lose them.
Yeah, maybe. That could be.
Yeah.
Just put him in his pocket real quick.
Yeah, maybe he took them off when he realized the bomb was going off. Just as, I don't know, that would be a dumb time to do that. But just like Jesus, and pulls him down over his nose. I don't know.
This next part of the trailer right here, it kind of proves my point that the highway is not the final part of the game. If you look right here, everyone gets out of the car. Cloud stops his motorcycle, and then the ghost starts showing up.
Yeah.
So
they start surrounding one of the sectors.
It looks like the Shinra building.
Yeah.
They're all swarming it.
Who are you going to call? That's all I think about. Waiting for Bill Murray to pop out. But anyways, so this scene is where Aerith is saying something along the lines of, I'm telling you guys, it's not Shinra. There's much more going on here. You just have to believe me. And like clearly, like there's something else going on here besides Shinra, because there's ghosts encapsulating the building. But I like that they've fleshed her character out here, because like in the original, she was like, she knew a lot more than like the game let on. I mean, she speaks with the planet, right? She knows she's an ancient. Like she knows all about like the Cetra and everything like that. So I think that, you know, she knew the planet was in trouble. I like that they're giving her more than just what she had in the original, because I feel like she was kind of underused. Like she had her parts in Midgar, and then outside of that, she kind of went in the background for a while until it was time for her to pass on, you know. She got a little more prominent again, but it always seemed kind of weird to me that she wasn't telling the party more about the planet and more about what was going on and kind of alluding to what may be going on. It just seemed kind of unnatural, I guess. So I like the fact that it seems like they're giving her more of a prominent role in the story, because she's got every right to be there. I mean, she's an ancient, for God's sake, you know? So.
Yeah. It builds more mystery as to what these ghost things are.
I still don't like the ghosts, but that was me trying to like beat around the bush that I don't like those ghosts.
Well, I mean, but if they're there for a purpose, like you said, like fleshing out Aerith and how she can hear the voices, right, of the planet.
Right.
Maybe these ghosts are like the physical or sort of physical embodiment, I guess, of those voices. Like in the original
live stream,
them, but now in the remake, she can not only hear them, she can see them in some way.
Now, do you think maybe we go back to the Shinra building, but maybe we go underground, and maybe that's where we see that Genova?
I don't know.
As opposed to going above. Now, remember in Dirge of Cerberus, the Shinra building had a secret underground
passage.
Passage. Now, I don't think they would directly use that reference, but there might be a reason to go back to that Shinra building, because as you can see, the ghosts are surrounding it.
So maybe Genova's taken over like the building,
or maybe we don't even know if those ghosts are related to Genova.
Well, I feel like
they probably are, but they haven't really.
Well, they're not related to Shinra.
Connected.
Well,
we see in one of the previous trailers, they're like attacking the group at the bar, right?
Right.
Be shortly after the bombing mission, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now they're surrounding the Shinra building, and there's a ton of them. I wonder if they're literally ghosts, like dead people that couldn't go to the live stream for whatever reason. Because if the bombing mission happens and that caused the deaths of innocent people, right, then those ghosts would be coming after Avalanche, like if they knew that they were responsible. But now, a whole tornado of them coming after Shinra.
Shortly. Do we really need such an in-your-face consequence? Can't just like the subtle, like the more like more human moments, like Kate Sith and like arguing with Barrett over the choices he made, blowing up the reactor. No, we need a whole bunch of spooky ghosts to come out and be like, "You did a bad thing."
Well, why aren't they circling?
Well, thank you. I know.
Avalanche. Anyways, I don't know. Like, I think I never even thought of that. That's a good point. It definitely could be that. I always thought that, well, first off, these, I think they're calling them Watchmen of Fate or Keepers of Fate or something like that.
Mhm.
And we've talked about this in an earlier podcast that, like, this was supposed to be some idea that was scrapped from the original. Like, they didn't keep it in the original for whatever reason, whether it was time or just they didn't like it or whatever.
It was stupid.
It was stupid. But they decided to bring it back here. And I always got the impression that this was just more of Genova or Sephiroth through Genova emphasizing power, like more servants, I guess. Like, like Sephiroth can't be everywhere, but he can use these kind of creatures to kind of like scout out what's going on. I don't know why they're encircling the Shinra building, other than the fact that maybe it's just because Genova's been released, and maybe that's why Aerith is saying, there's much more going on here than just Shinra guys, and she's trying to convince them that they have to go inside this building. Because
That
I
would
would
make
need a lot
sense.
of convincing to go into this building, to be honest. I would be like, now's the time to leave Midgar. This place has gone down the crapper here. Like, look at this. But
Yeah,
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
your theory is better than mine.
I mean, who knows though? I mean, it could be just like you said.
Yeah, we don't know, but that would make sense that they're showing this visual as after also where Aerith is saying there's a bigger threat than the Shinra company, and so she'd be referring to Genova and Sephiroth by extension, of course.
Right.
Really focus on how many ghosts there are. So that would make sense if they're kind of like his servants or somehow like reunion related.
Yeah. Which I like. I don't want to say I don't like it because I haven't seen how they're using it. But so far, every time I've seen this in the trailer, it just made me feel like this was unnecessary.
Like you just don't know what it is.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you didn't need to do that. It might be great, but I don't know. It reminds me of like, what are those black things? There's like black swarms in Kingdom Hearts.
Heartless.
Yeah, like where they're flying around and stuff. It reminds me of that. I don't know why I didn't think of Heartless. Right when you said it, I was like, duh. But it just reminds me of that kind of look. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's just like such a dramatic change to the foundation of the game that I just didn't feel was necessary. But it could be good, but I just don't feel like it's necessary. There's certain things like fleshing out Aerith's character or like fleshing out Jesse and Biggs and Wedge and like, okay, I get that. But when you're like changing it at its core foundation, I'm just, I don't know. But I don't know how much they use it. It might just be something that kind of pops up every now and again and it's not really used to great degree. So
I mean, it seems like they use it fairly off. Well,
I'm trying to be positive, Stan.
we,
You're like, well, actually, it seems like they use it all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see what we do, basically.
Yeah.
But
As promised, let's talk about the theme song real quick here because we said we were going to do it at the end of the podcast. And we can go back and point out anything in the trailer if we missed anything. But in general, the song that's played that Nobuo wrote, I got to be honest, I really do not like a lot of Nobuo's vocal tracks that he writes. I like his more instrumental stuff a lot better. This one's not bad, but I just don't feel like I would ever listen to this song outside of the game. And the other Final Fantasy music that he's written that's not vocal oriented, I do listen outside of the game. So I think that's telling in of itself for me. But what did you guys think about the theme song for Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Sounds very English.
Very English.
Yes. Like I mean, it's essentially a Japanese guy like singing a song in English.
yeah,
It really sounds like a Japanese guy trying to sing in English. Like, like a English speaker trying to sing Japanese. It just doesn't sound natural or something like vice versa. It just like it feels off. Like it's not like a terrible song by any means, but like Hat said, I'm not jamming to it whatsoever.
yeah. I'm neutral on it. I think For a Japanese person singing English lyrics, though, I think it does sound better than a lot of those other of a lot of other similar situations that I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, even I dig like the guitar part. Like I really like the acoustic work there, and I really like the harmonica when it comes in. Like it's like I'm like, oh, I'm getting like Crisis Core vibes almost. Like I can kind of dig it. But
Mhm.
like once he comes in and he starts singing, like I'm just like I'm out. And it's not like part of it, I guess, is the way he sings, right? Because it's too modern, it's too like hipster, like it's a
Mhm.
very clean and not a lot of vibrato. Like it's very like not classically trained, and like it just doesn't feel right with what I know for Final Fantasy VII. But I could still accept it. It's just I just don't like vocal tracks on my Final Fantasy games for the most part. I like the opera, but again, there was no actual singing. It was just the vocal melody, right? From Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VI. So even the end of Final Fantasy IX, my favorite Final Fantasy IX, they add that vocal track to the song that I think it was A Place to Call Home. I think it was. I could be
Mhm.
wrong on that. But I didn't like the vocal version of that song either. I
It was
just
Melodies of Life. They had
Melodies
that
of
was the
Life, that's what
vocal
it was,
version.
yeah. I like the instrumental version way better than the vocal track. I just don't like lyrics over the songs. I'm trying to feel the scene. I'm trying to feel the music. I don't need words. I mean, I think if they wanted to use the theme, they could have used the overworld theme, which would have been kind of ironic because this game doesn't have an overworld, but that's that music to me screams Final Fantasy VII, that overworld theme. And I think they could have used something like that, but it doesn't ruin the game. It's just, you know,
I think um, the song would work well if they just play it at the end credits, like with when there's no more scene going on, like no,
that would be fine.
yeah, like if just literally the credits are rolling and then they play the song,
What about
because
a menu theme, like a main menu theme, like start game menu?
uh maybe
I think this is where they might try to remain classic and just like start similar to the way it did in
With
the original FF7.
like the arpeggios, like like do
Yeah.
do do do. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just the Final Fantasy theme playing, and then it's just well, I guess if the leaked demo is any indication, there's um
I think
like it's not that.
Yeah,
now that I think about it, the credits would be perfect because this game is probably going to end on some kind of cliffhanger, and it's called Hollow, right? And it's kind of
it's telling me what to feel. Yeah, maybe it's gonna be like the main descriptor for like all reviews of this game. Well, it's a remake, but it feels hollow. No,
oh, yeah.
I'm
no.
just watching the video, and Nobuo really doesn't look like he cares anymore.
You
Oh,
don't
come
think so?
on. I think he cares. I don't know. I can tell from the other two composers because Square Enix released like a kind of like a press deal on their website about this song, and they have the other two composers that are working on this. Hamazu, I don't know, I'm butchering that name, and what's the other one? What is it?
Mm,
Suzuki.
it's last name Suzuki. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I just feel like I should not be allowed to read these names on here because I'm just pissing people off. But one of them was the composer for worked on Final Fantasy 10 and 13. That
Hmm.
was Hamazu, if I'm butchering that, sorry. And then Suzuki, he worked on 13.2 and Lightning Returns. So those all had fantastic soundtracks, clearly able to handle it. And Nobuo apparently picked them. But if anything, if you read their kind of description here, I'll pull it on the screen. I'm not going to read all of this. But if you kind of see what they're saying here, they're both talking about getting really burnt out with writing music for games because it's so much and there's deadlines and there's so much pressure and like they just got burnt out with it. But they didn't feel like they wanted to do it anymore. But for this game, they were willing to jump back in. I wonder if that's just Nobuo's thing. Like, hey guys, I'm like 60 something. I'm not
Hmm.
working 90 hours a week. Sorry. I'll do a credit theme. That's
Yeah.
like That's it. Like I'm not gonna do anything else. You know.
It could be, yeah. He's more of in a supervisory role.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. He could be taking on like the uh what's her name? I can't even think today. The woman that does the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack. Shimamura?
Yes.
Yeah, she supervised Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack, but there's like 6 different composers writing for that. But her job was to make sure that it all sounds like the same style, right? So that you don't have these differing conflicting styles. So maybe Nobuo might take on more of a role like that. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. So I don't know. But what were we saying, Eric? You were saying Nobuo's words that he's saying didn't look like he really cared.
I don't know. I was just looking at the video. He just looked like he's just phoning it in. He's like, you come here, sing this.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's some popular Japanese singer, so I don't know. Yosh from Survive said the prophet.
Yeah, they did a song from what is it called? Vinland Saga, which is like a pretty recent popular anime. They did one of the songs for that.
Okay. Well, I just hope that yeah, it's not a bad song. Of all the vocal tracks it could have been, it's not that bad. I just won't listen to it really outside of that, and that is what it is. I just hope that it is just a credit theme song and it's not like a reoccurring song that happens every time Cloud has a lonely moment. They play this hollow song.
Yeah.
You know.
I wouldn't like that either. I wouldn't even want it if there's other characters talking, like having a scene but then there's vocals in the background. That's distracting. Even kind of in this trailer, it's a little annoying to me.
Yeah.
You know, I prefer if there's just, no lyrics and music in the background if there's going to be characters with voice acting.
Now, I agree with that. What they did with Final Fantasy IX with Melodies of Life, which I did like, was in the game. They played the same song, but they just played the vocal melody. They didn't have the singer singing. And that worked really well. I can dig that. Just play the vocal melody of what he's singing, the notes, but don't actually have lyrics during the game.
Lyrics, yeah.
Which I can dig that because outside of that, like it is a pretty cool sounding song. Like I said, with the acoustic work and it's like all like minor key depressive stuff. And then, they come in with the sweeping harmonica and it's got a cool vibe going with it. So I could get in behind that.
Yep.
But yeah, so the game's coming out on April 10th, right?
Supposedly.
I'm sure it will.
Yep.
I would be surprised if they pushed it back farther than that because then we're getting into like E3 territory. But yeah, so should be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it now. I don't know. There's a lot of spoilers in this trailer.
There were, yeah.
I'm not sure what else is left to be revealed. So there's that. But yeah, I liked it. I think I'm excited now. I'm getting ready. I feel like the next big release for this game is going to be the demo. And then I don't know. You guys think there's going to be another?
Well,
I guess there'll be a trailer that's released like a week before the game comes out.
Yeah, I predicted that we were going to get the demo on the same date that we got this trailer, actually. But so I was wrong about that. But that was before they delayed the game.
Right. So it's understandable.
Probably a watch trailer.
Maybe we'll still get the demo, but we'll get it on the original release date.
Oh, of March 3rd?
Yeah, that would be something, Yeah,
and then we can have about a month to play it.
Yeah. That would be cool if they did that.
Yeah, I'd be down with it. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up about the trailer or about the song or just anything regarding the VII Remake before we call this episode to a close, this 2.5 hour podcast?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm good.
All right. So that's going to wrap us up for this week. Please, if you haven't checked out our Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core discussion, there's going to be a link in the description. Go check that out. Hopefully you like it. We're planning on doing more of those discussions in the future, but we'll have to hold that for another time. So we will see you all next week. Take it easy, guys.
Take care.
See you next time.